Hello and welcome to week 5 here at the ULC following Risen Esports versus Final Bosses Week. My name is Victor and casting with me this evening is Tame.
Hey guys, apologies for the delay getting into this one. Risen had a issue getting one of their players here onto the Rift with us, so they're going to lose a couple, well, all of their bans for the first game. Unfortunate, since he just missed the ban cutoff by about a minute or so. But we are going to get some gameplay. The game is going on as planned, just no bans for the side of Risen Esports. So, I mean, you're going to have a lot of power picks, a lot of priority picks for Final Boss.
Yeah, exactly, Tame. Barlow being a little bit tardy to the punch there, but we are in the game here for a best of 5 for week 5 of the UCL. Really looking forward to this. A little bit of a random Ash ban though. Maybe that's just to speed up the timer.
It is.
Rumble Ivan off the table as well. Set we mentioned potentially could be a contentious pick between these two top laners. And potentially first pick worthy for Final Boss as well. So I have to see if they use that to their advantage. Banning out Leona, banning out that engage, and Quinn will just be a sacrificial ban on the other side. Don't think any team is intending to play Quinn this much. So
No,
Raka, however, picked away.
they did announce that the placeholder bans would be Ash, Timo, Alawi, Heimer, Quinn. So if you see any of those banned by Risen, don't take it seriously as a viewer. Placeholder for the penalty for being tardy here. However, they did allow Risen to take the Varus and the set. So even while having priority in the draft, Risen was still able to get two amazingly strong picks in the meta right now. And with Final Boss already locking in the Soraka, that actually leaves the Yuumi up for Risen. So, I mean, you think about Yuumi Varus is not a good early lane like compared to Yuumi Ezreal, but with the set and the late game scaling that the champion offers, and the fact that you can take it away from another team without using a ban is a pretty high priority. Thing is, we're going to see Graves and Wukong both locked in here. Now, Graves, Wukong, both flex right now. Soraka can be flex, as Risen showed last week, although not to great effect. Graves can go, jungle mid right now. Wukong can go jungle top. So you never know what we're going to see in this wild meta that we're in right now.
Yeah, exactly, Tame. We do have a couple of interesting things happening for you tonight. Danny Cutebody isn't playing. We have Steve Fox playing this ADC position over onto the side of Risen Esports, so we'll see what he's bringing to the table. Playing some of those meta picks right now with Misfortune Varus still fairly prevalent. And we have that Mordekaiser taken away to match that Wukong and Graves, that sort of aggressive melee. And with the Soraka healing as well, if you can get one of these sort of like bruises snowballing, if you can get the heals on them, they just have so much sustain to be an actual sort of like matching tank frontline for them.
Again, yeah, I'm thinking here that with what Risen has shown and the current state of the meta, that they basically have to ban Yuumi here or win in 15 minutes. It's just kind of how I'm feeling with the current state of the meta, especially at the high elo that we're casting today. No, they took away Sona, who is another sort of hyper scaling, sort of filling that same niche as Yuumi does. But, giving a little more presence, at least has a body to block in the early game. And the best thing about Sona is no matter how many times you hit her with skill shots, she's not going to say anything. She's not going to complain.
Yeah, exactly, Tame. Just wondering how this first pick Soraka is going to play out there as well. Does open up that Yuumi, as you suggest. Going to be that karma, going to be that aggression into the bot lane. Looking for that early poke with the Varus. That is going to be immense, particularly if they both go for that Comet build, both go for that poke early. Soraka could potentially run through that mana bar fairly quickly, and it does mean you probably want to take a high range AD carry to try and mitigate some of that poke as well. Maybe look to invest into that Dorian shield early on as well.
Yeah, we saw Risen run the Karma last week to great effect. It was dominant throughout the game that it was picked in, allowing a lot of really good poke, a lot of zoning, and we are going to see the Ezreal Diana locked in from Final Boss here. So we're getting a comfort pick. We had done a little bit of research and saw that their mid laner is basically a control mage player unless you put him on Diana. He can just unleash the beast if you give him Diana. So it's going to be interesting to see here how they handle their comfort picks. But, man, there's a lot of go buttons in Final Boss's draft. And Soraka is just kind of sitting there like, wait for me, guys, don't die.
Exactly, Tame. But a 60 games played on Diana, 60% win rate, obviously Diamond 2, high-end stuff right now, and are really looking to take over the game with that aggressive pick down. Not a lot of gang setup down to that bottom lane. In fact, not a lot of CC on the side overall for Final Boss. So they really need to have a lead to be able to push control of the map and find fights with that Wukong on their terms. They really have to push the go button. Don't have a lot of defense. So as you said, reliant on those heals and reliant on these bruises to get ahead. Otherwise, they will just get blown up by the damage and control coming out of Risen Esports.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Risen did the best that they could with no bans. I assume it's the Mordekaiser flex into the mid lane to counter the Diana. I assume it's going to be, set jungle, Shen top. They still have flexibility in their draft, so we're going to have to see where everyone ends up. But that's what I'm assuming. I feel like putting Mord into the mid lane, Death's Reach can just pull her right out of sort of any threat and pull her out of her little annoying combo. But we'll have to see if that's what they go for, because you can also, I don't know, maybe you could throw Karma mid Shen support. That was a thing for a while too. Risen so far in the 3 games that we've casted them this season have shown that they are quite dynamic and willing to flex champions just about anywhere, including Soraka ADC. Ugh.
Yeah, Tame, I don't think you really want to last pick Shen into a Soraka lane. You're just not going to get a lot done with the Ezreal there, honestly. It's going to be more about that Stand United trying to play to get your solo lanes ahead. Obviously, if you put set up into the top lane or Mordekaiser, you can definitely make plays there. But you're kind of sacrificing Varus. Varus doesn't have that mobility like Ezreal does, so not exactly known for his 1v2 laning capabilities. But Soraka's no roamer either. It's going to be fairly bot lane focused, and whether or not people can impact that map into the bot side, whether or not people can dragon stack as well, as both of these junglers can so take Drake fairly early on in the game.
Yeah, I expect definitely the first fight will probably break out around the Drake pit. Uh, the Shen going support was basically a meme, by the way. I'm pretty sure it is going to be more mid and Shen top. You'd have to be crazy otherwise. I really kind of like that Shen has sort of fringed his way back into the mid. He's got really good side lane pressure, and with basically everybody running TP right now, uh, and the change to teleport for top laners just makes it so Shen can just be everywhere and anywhere at any time.
Yeah, good dueling early as well. If you can stay relevant in that early laning phase and get some items, get those tank stats, you can definitely threaten the Wukong in a side lane.
Yeah, and I mean, when he finishes his Hydra, he just becomes so oppressive. Like, it feels like the wave just walks up to him and he's like, "What's up? I'm a ninja here," and the whole wave is just deleted. It just there's no contesting a Shen wave once he finishes his Hydra. His scaling with the Shadow Blade, the passive that gives him the extra magic damage on his attack, just makes his wave cleared nutty.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting here. Quite reliant on wave clear for Tree Bro in the jungle over onto the side of Final Boss as well. Limited there with Diana, obviously. You do get that sweeping crescent to be able to clear out some of it. But wave clear a little bit lacking on the side of Final Boss. So if they do fall behind with this slightly squishier team comp, Risen Esports can potentially trample over them. But in the mindset of that, they do have that Raka. If they can get a good lane phase out of the Wukong, Graves, or Diana and really catapult them through with those objectives, getting those dragon stacking, Final Boss could have a good run into the mid to late game.
The only concern I really have about Final Boss's comp is sort of Soraka is one of those, enchantresses that's great at zoning as well. But towards the late game, she more just kind of like follows somebody almost like a Yumi and keeps them topped off and, wave clears and trades and stuff and, contests around objective zoning with Star Call and such. But there's no real solid target, I don't feel, in Final Boss for her to just be like, hey, I'm here. I'm your babysitter. I mean, you have the Wukong, but, when excuse me, when Soraka presses R, who are you going to call? And it's not going to be the Ghostbusters. It's going to be the Star Call that comes down. And maybe the ult doesn't heal anybody. Maybe everybody's already dead. That's definitely a concern. Basically, what I'm saying is I worry about the lack of a dedicated tank, but I am a very wordy person.
Exactly, Tame. You got over the line there, but thank you so much for tuning in here at Risen Esports, following Risen Esports through the UCL League Week 5 against Final Boss. We'll be right back after a short break for game number 1 of this best of 3 night. Hello and welcome back to game one of the UCL week 5 here, following Risen Esports against Final Boss this week, 4-0 in the league currently versus 2-2 Final Boss. My name is Rictor and casting with me this evening, loading into the Rift, is Tame.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into this one. Risen super dominant so far, 4-0. Last week, they did get pushed to a game 3. Final boss, middle of the pack team. This is sort of manifest destiny, make or break this week for them. You got to be a little bit intrepid when you're facing the Giants that are Risen right now, 4-0. Risen didn't get any bans. It's a lot of interesting storylines as we get onto the Rift here.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if Nightingale can push their lead on this Diana. Sort of like maining it this season. It's really going to be interesting to see playing into this counter pick here of Baboon in the mid lane. Mordekaiser's going to have so much sustain with this differential. Going to be difficult to really like push him and shove him out. And a Nightingale who does have mana cost issues early will potentially struggle to sustain in this lane.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that as well, is that even if you say, Diana outplays the Mordekaiser E and everything, and Diana's where she needs to be all the time, Mort doesn't have any resources. He can just spam the waves down, and Diana has no real way to do that. Even if you dodge the Death's Grasp, even if you're not hitting the Indestructible, it's tough. So, you might see a little early trade.
Ooh. Here onto Barlow. But I think Barlow, level 1, can definitely take that trade fairly happily.
The mixed damage you get out of Shen's Q, the Twilight Assault, is great at level 1. You're automatically adding some extra magic damage to your attacks. So yeah, that's it just went about even. Nothing much to do about nothing, basically.
He's just up there stacking grasp. He's very happy to do that, just pushing him into the wave, getting quite aggressive already, forcing out those corrupting potions.
It was so good, his level 1, and we're already seeing Soraka brought down to half health as well, as we're seeing Steve Fox, who I'm told actually has no relation to Rick Fox of Echo Fox. Oh,
here we go. Skark in the top lane. Gonna have to play super careful. Potentially gonna have to flash away. Doesn't want to trade that for Barlow's though. Level 2 power spike. Shen has all the power. He said that he has a good early lane phase, and he's really using that to effect.
Yeah, as Wukong right here, you have to feel bad. Like, how are you gonna farm? Obviously, Shen can has free last hitting with his Q as well.
Treebro has the red buff ticking down on Baboon, but he is kind of down to his turret, so that's okay. Didn't have to burn his flash, potentially a repeat gank, but Wave will crash back to him as well, so he can just play safe in the mid lane. But it is winning lanes right now here for Risen Esports. Win lane, win game.
Yeah, they're really just poking them out across the board here, and you're going to see in these higher elo games where people are really cognizant of their ability cooldowns and when they can go in and when they can't. And so far from Risen, we're seeing that being handled very well, especially as you see Cesark here, even after healing up, still under half health. Steve Fox.
Cantori actually going to steal away the blue buff. Treebro is so low on mana, actually. He really needed that for sustain. Just had the backup. We did have Nightingale potentially roaming up there to secure it, but Shen was on the roam as well, so they just had the numbers to allow Jim Cantori just to steal away the camp. Gets the skull as well. He's got an early lead in the jungle too, and I Am Javi is so low on this Soraka.
Yeah, as we followed Jim last week, we noticed that he invaded in all 3 of the games that we played. It seems to be sort of like an unscouted style of his thus far. He really likes that really aggressive early jungling, and he's on a perfect champion for it. Oh.
Yeah, nice little bit of a bullet. Can't quite get the stun for Jim Cantori, but he's going scuttle to skull. He is very happy. He's got camps up in the jungle, freely flowing just in the jungle. Already got it back here for Treebo, but what can he do? He just needs to farm up on this Graves, get to a good point. But we need a winning lane here for the side of Final Bosses. We said that they are a little bit squishy. They really need to get something going for them.
Yeah, if you want to talk winning lane, Wukong is up by 1 CS here as he tries to feign a little bit of a trade, but otherwise, everything's coming up aces for Risen as we mire our way through this early game here. It has to feel so bad in that bot lane for Final Boss. One of the best poking supports and the best... He got away.
Yeah, he got his back stopped as well, which is really nice just to be able to stop him out. Has no more corrupting potions. So he can just freeze the lane here as well. In the bottom lane, they are so low I Am Javi's already based, come back to lane, picked up a refillable potion, and already chugging away. Just can't sustain in this lane versus the onslaught of Keen and Steve Fox.
I mean, it's got to feel bad when you have a relic shield, a refillable potion, and a rejuvenation bead, and you're still getting poked out there. Oh, YYC.
Yeah, Root comes in and the Q just to burst down onto YYCADC, and just the heal comes out. The sustainer's there, but again, this aggression coming out of the bottom lane of Risen Esports is unsurmountable.
It's like you're getting on the bus to go to school, and you're in like kindergarten, and a 5th grader just says, "Give me your sandwich," and you have no choice. You have to give him your sandwich.
Keen's at it again, another root, another damage. The Ignite comes down, he has to arcade shift away, but he's ticking so low, gets that final heal. The barrier's already been used, the heal from I Am Javi, and they are so low. Ezreal struggling to find farmers, a CS gap of 15, 16 now is just rising in the bottom lane.
Smack has been laid down, the sandwich has been taken in the bot lane. However, you know, worth mentioning though, they did get us some no deaths so far out of their team, but the lane prio that Risen's able to establish here cannot be understated. Absolutely massive early game as Barlow goes in here. No.
Yes. Skark actually had to base with a rather unfortunate wave. Kind of got frozen against him. Did manage to come back. He's going for that Blade, the Rune King build. But that just means that Barlow is going to have a really nice base. Already 50 CS. Just going to be able to push this in. Going to get a free reset. So we'll be able to save his teleport as well. Skar's saved his. So he should be able to pick up a lot of this CS on the tower as well. But nice free brace here for Barlow as he gets an item lead coming back to lane.
Yeah, I mean, with 52 CS, he should be able to just grab the early Tiamat and just continue basically what he's done so far. Great early game farming, you know, already at a 7.5 CS a minute before 10 minutes, which is pretty impressive to put up those kind of numbers at this time in the game. Across the mid lane, we're seeing more of a farm lane. You know, Diana picking up that early Catalyst. Mordekaiser picking up the early Haunted Guides. Diana, the Rod of Ages build has become popular again.
Nightingale going heavy into the mid lane. Actually, Showstopper comes out, has to flash away. Nightingale now on the run with pressure in the bottom lane as well. I'm sure Jim Cantori is looking for this dragon when they have Prio in the bottom lane.
Yeah, really good heads up flash there out of Nightingale. Recognized the danger, got out as quick as they could. Actually didn't even take that much damage. You know, Mordekaiser's Death's Grasp is hard to land at higher elo like we're witnessing here. So if you don't land it, it kind of messes up the gank. However, we are seeing final boss in the bot lane. YYC and I Am Yavi actually pushing forward, but I was going to say it's not in time to save the dragon.
Yeah, this could be bad because they could potentially freeze the wave into the bottom lane. Has to be careful. Ezreal can't exactly push out the wave very aggressively, so it's very difficult. I Am Javi going so low. Keen is just on a rampage. He says, I do not care about minion XP. I will just absolutely deny this duo out. And Steve Fox is just free farming all the while in the back end of it. Trying to freeze, having the melees just hit the tower means that it will eventually get broken down. But Keen is just looking for the root yet again, always pressure in the bottom lane.
Just straight up running him down. The state of ADC in 2020. A support just full out runs you down without caring.
Yeah, let's get the XP, but here comes the ult, here comes the Ignite again, and first blood to Steve Fox. The unrelenting pressure from Keen pays dividends.
Gotta be wondering there, why am I in this situation? Because you stayed in the lane. Yeah, I mean, when you're
top lane, Cyclone comes down onto Barlow though. Sorry, a taunt comes out already. The slow is down. The flash, the second knockup from the Cyclone. Barlow's in a world of trouble, and I don't think the tower's gonna save you. Scars will get it, and they trade into the top lane, but plates coming down thick and fast into the bottom lane. Steve Fox is getting so much gold out of this. They are just mining this tower in the bottom lane for Risen Esports as they trade across the map.
Yeah, I think honestly the death is kind of worth it there for Risen as Jim Cantor isn't up the top lane now.
Jim Cantori uses the Haymaker, tries to get a really nice big shield from that grit. He'll be able to survive. Just wants to try and pick up this XP that's crashing into the wave. Stop these plates that got traded for into the bottom lane. One will go down, potentially another, but Jim Cantori facing them off, daring them to come at him 2v1.
Yeah, I mean, the The Showstopper's ability to throw them back into the tower makes diving a set very, very scary. Suddenly you're diving tower, and then you're about halfway back to the inhibitor in one R press. However, I think that that's sort of like a bait by Risen as well, because the longer you keep advantage up there, look at this bot lane. Here it comes again.
Keen's on it, looking for the route onto white ADC. Already Arcane shifted backwards. I'm Javi solo yet again. We instantly see, however, Jim Cantori realizes the base of the jungler and the top laner means that he's instantly going to Rift. He's got the pressure in the top lane as well to be able to rotate there. You've got the pink in the river, and he'll be able to secure this second objective of the game for Risen Esports. Another spear comes down into the bottom lane, and this is just torrential now. Keen looking for pressure. ADC cannot get to lane. You just gotta cue the wave, man. Just cue the wave. Let it crash under your tower. But he's already down. Fox finds the snipe in the back end of it.
Oh, taking him down. Oh my goodness. It's kind of hard to watch at points as we see the piercing arrow just rip Soraka's heart right out there.
It's not going to stop now as well. We've already got that Executioner's Calling and that Umbral Glaive. Such an efficient item pairing down to the bottom lane. Athene's on Holy Grail. They are just tearing through this bottom lane right now. Steve Fox must be so happy. 77 just stacking up on that Tear of the Goddess. Going for the Glacial Shroud, so that means that his damage output is going to be very, very low. Looking more for that control style. Not going to be going for that Trinity Force.
And think about the interesting pickup here on the Varus, the Umbral Glaive. It's pretty standard nowadays with the lethality build, but with the way that they're lane dominant and they're always pushed up, I actually really like it, because if Final Boss Esports tries to, get cheeky with vision or anything, the Umbral Glaive just outright denies it, allows them to continue their playstyle, and enables what they're doing.
Jim Cantori actually punches Trebo back in there as well. We've already got the roam coming down from Barlow, who had priority into the top lane, but in the middle lane, Nightingale says, maybe I can take Baboom. They're going for the 1v1 drain. It's pretty big as they come in there with a Realm of Death, and it's coming down to the wire, but Baboon is going to be able to secure it up into the top lane as well. Jim Cantori solo, but us get out with Barlow, and it's trading across the map, but in the end of it, Nightingale can't find the 1v1 that they wanted.
Has to feel bad for Nightingale. They chose that fight. They initiated. They used the ultimate. Mordekaiser's like, hey, I'm just trying to be in my death realm. I'm just hanging out. I'm vibing. As we are going to see the TP come out here from Barlow to get right back into that.
He wants the wave. Oh, big engagement to the bottom lane. And it's Zayab Javi just getting blown up with a combo. Wonderful chain of corruptions to start it up in the top lane as well. Scott can't find the wave, can't find the damage, and Barlow will say, yes, I will take my first kill of the game. Baboon up into the mid as well. So much trading across the map.
Yeah, we're going to need to call the ambulance in on this one. This is turning into a bloodbath very quickly here. Honestly, for Final Boss Esports, I feel like they really need to shore up their macro. They need to slow the game down, and they're just not doing it, as it looks like Risen will take the first tower here.
Yeah, here comes Trebo trying to make something onto Keen. Keen trying to run away, has to flash the wall as well. Does so securely, as we do have Jim Cantori now roaming down into the bottom lane as well. It's all going to be about the second dragon, starting up the cloud here on the side of Risen Esports.
I can't imagine there's any universe in which Final Boss can test this Drake. I mean, they have nobody around, they have no priority in any lane, and they've already lost a tower. So the question for them becomes, down 5k at 13 minutes. How do we get back into this game? They could have got back into the game earlier by babysitting the bot lane. It's too late for that now. The lane's over, 2 Drakes to 0. So how do they get back into the game now? They can enable their Wukong. They can wait for Ezreal to scale. Or they could sneak an objective or find a pick. If they want to find a pick, it's not where they're going right now. Their vision is just not there. It's not substantiated in any way that they can find the pick that they would need against Risen here. However, look at Sark up there just whacking on the tower. Looks like he's going to grab it too, actually.
Yeah, but Keen's going to run him down. He's got the slow, and he's going to look for the root next. Play the Rune King there for the disengage. Flashing out as well. Scott survives, but he does burn his summoner.
At this point in the game, honestly, worth it. I don't think there's any realm where you can't say that that's not worth it for them. Just getting a tower, any kind of little, shred of dignity given to them, or any kind of hope of life that they can
Oh,
Get
face
up in
check
this
coming
game.
in. Trebo going aggressive. Comes over the wall. Keen has to be very careful. Doesn't quite find it with the collateral damage. Coming out with the true shot barrage as well. Trebo going back in. Trying to hold the line. 2v1. Can't quite find the kill, but definitely sends the bottom lane packing.
You gotta feel bad about that. I mean, you just burned your flash, you burned your R. So many resources invested there. However, I do love to see the proactivity out of Final Boss here. That's what I was saying. They still need to be looking for things, and they are. You know, gold-wise, it looks like this early in the game, you're out of it. However, if you play like that and proactively look for things, we're not at a point in the game where Risen is infallible. They can make mistakes, and they will make mistakes. It's just capitalizing on them.
I think Final Boss maybe needed something a little bit more out of Nightingale. Try and get a couple of roams down to that bottom lane. I didn't quite find it, as we said. 3-0-0 currently. Massive Steve Fox on the Rift right now, coming at you with that Stand United as well available. There's so much trading potential here over onto the side of Risen Esports. What can they do to get back into the game right now?
Before the next Drake spawns, I'm thinking a whole lot of nothing. You know, there is a Herald coming up soon, but what are you going to do against Keen in the top lane? That Karma just running everybody down, as it looks like they are going to three-man strong arm this tower down. Bot lane, Barlow, you know, he has the trade advantage, and look at us here. He's smacking. So he's got that trade advantage.
Play the Rune King, and he also does have that offensive ultimate that's almost off cooldown. Going to have that Cyclone, so Shen has to be careful. Barlow needs to get a base on here. 2v1 into the mid lane. Baboon takes him to the death realm. Treebro doesn't want to just try and disengage. Going to the edge of his realm of death. Just trying to disengage. Waiting for the gank coming out from the top lane. Can't quite find it. However, that does mean that they do have control over to the Rift. That is started by Steve Fox. He's tanking that up. Jim Cantori now on the case of it as well. Trading onto the bottom side. We have Trebo invading quite heavily. Potentially going to look to gank Barlow in the end of it. Going to have to trade something aggressively with a TP coming out for Baboon as he instantly re-enters the middle lane. Nightingale now roaming down to this bottom side. They're potentially looking for the Shen. They have the tower. Skark is there. Barlow is low. The Cyclone is up. Trebo is here for the damage as well. He will fall and Skark will secure it.
You know, don't look away because Zark is actually getting fairly big. You know, he's picked up 2 towers now. He's almost even up the CS. He's got 2 kills. Wukong is a very viable carry. There's nothing really against Wukong carrying a game, especially when he went that Bork build against the 3 beefy boys of Risen. The question then becomes, how do we shut down the Varus? The answer is, pray to God that the Varus makes a misstep in his positioning, because otherwise, right now, he is monstrous. Steve Fox, absolutely disgusting. Only bounty on the game on him right now. Herald was picked up by Jim Cantor. He's backing here. So, you know, with the Drake coming up, expect Risen to make a heavily macro-focused decision, maybe try to shove down that mid tower before they go and... they're hoping to secure a 3rd Drake for sure. Especially around 19 minutes. That's feeling good.
Oh, YYC. The combo from the bottom lane. Keen, Steve Fox just shuts it absolutely down. I think you're right there. Rift Herald mid, secure the objective, get the priority, roam to Drake. 20 seconds up on that, so they'll be able to secure their 3rd objective if they can play it right. They've just got to buy this time, use that poke. I was going to say that Soraka's a good pick into lethality, Varus. If you can get through that early laning phase, get some items on that Soraka, the healing will come through, but not when you get that double piercing arrow, that AoE coming down. You can only heal so much, Soraka, and now is not your time. Jim Cantori also just clearing out the vision now. They've got the priority. They have not used the Rift already, so they do have that second up. They're going to pull that out and away to stop that engagement. They do have to plant there if they want it. Does Trebo want to contest? They're looking for a little bit of poke here for YYC coming out of there. The Dragon will get secured for Risen Esports. Chains of Corruption goes wide, and that'll be the engagement passed.
Yeah, pretty much exactly as we expected it. However, Risen actually got to keep the Herald here, so I assume he's just going to go run mid now and throw it down. You know, the Herald is basically your insurance policy to take that Drake. But now, yep, there it is. I was going to say they can stay hungry and continue to look here, maybe push as a unit, as we did see Diana go for that engage in the top lane and not quite secure the kill. So Barlow can join this fight. 1 tower down. Herald looks to get another charge here. Yep, he's going to get another charge there in the mid lane. So well played Herald there, and we're now seeing just a 3,000 gold lead, but it just feels more dominant for Risen than what the stat line would show you right now, because 3 Drakes to nil, 3,000 gold lead, but only 1 tower, 3 kills. But it feels like everything's coming up Risen here. Now, again, Zark is definitely a win con, as it looks like he's building towards that Triforce. If they can keep him alive and keep him farmed, they are still in this game.
Yeah, exactly. Diana will get to a point where you can really threaten onto that back line, but you're going to have to go through the three meaty boys there of Barlow, Jim Cantori, and Baboon as well. So has to play these fights very carefully, have to wait potentially for one of them to kind of like, as it were, find that engagement. Either Zark, Trebro, or Nightingale's going to have to go in and start something up if they can find a pick onto the backline. Steve Fox and Keen, who's looking so threatening right now. Double penetration coming out as we do have that Yumu's Ghostblade finished as well.
Yeah, and I really love that he went for the Executioner's calling early, even before the boots. I mean, that says a lot about how seriously they were taking that lane down there. But we are now seeing the Ezreal finish the Iceborne Gauntlet. He does have the Mirror Mana. He's online now at 20 minutes, so even being, 0-1, a 2-item Ezreal with CDR boots is definitely a threat. So team fights at this point, honestly, I feel like it's about positioning and macro skill, not just, smacking them with their wallet anymore. They're actually clawing their way back into this game a little bit, for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be about this Drake coming up in 3 minutes, whether or not that can get secured. That'll be so much regen over onto the side of Jim Cantori and Barlow that it'll be mitigating a lot of what Zark could potentially do on this Wukong in his side lane, having now finished that Triforce at a good point. A little bit behind him is Trebro, however, as well. Only a couple of assists to his name, struggling to get up to that Black Cleaver second item.
Yeah, and when Graves, I almost called him Draveson. That would be a disgusting champion. Imagine if he threw a shotgun across the map. Anyway, it does feel really bad to be behind on Graves. He did just pick up that second item, so he's kind of a champion now. He's one of those ones where it's kind of like feast or famine, but he also does scale fairly well. He did get a nerf to his Q, 20% scaling back in 10-10, so it's not quite as dominant as it used to be. However, he's getting there. He hasn't even died. He's the only member of Final Boss that hasn't died yet.
Zark's looking into the bottom lane here. Has to play a little bit careful. Does have the security of I Am Javi behind him. But he's going back in for the vision. He's trying to clear this pink if he can. Trying to cause a little bit of chaos. He's actually going quite aggressive now into Gimigatory. He kind of wants this, but does he? Because Steve Fox is there, and he will just say, welcome to the party. Chains of Corruption goes wide, looking for Trebro at the back end of it. They have pressure onto this mid lane tower. Gets a few hits down to that, but instantly have to retreat, having lost their top laner.
Going down like my man Harambe walking into the zoo.
Barlow quite find the taunt. Nightingale having to retreat as well. That was so close. Barlow was trying to continue the fight. Had the roam down for Baboon as well, so it would have been a 5v4. Now Baboon now coming back to mid. Here's the fight. Jim Cantori in the front line finds something. Nightingale potentially looking for their window to go. True shot barrage again. Jim Cantori fairly low in the process as well. They're going to try and retreat. They've got 50 seconds for this Drake, and that is the objective that they're playing for.
Absolutely. And with the push that they just made on mid, they secure their vision. They get exactly what they need. You see Keen here going through with the sweeper, making sure that they're going to have domination of that pit right before the Drake spawns, that soul point. So at this point, the next team fight for Final Boss, which is going to happen, so help me God, is a make or break point. You can't give them soul. It's like you had mentioned how effective that is on Jim Cantori. You cannot give Risen soul at this point in the game.
Save it will be quite difficult. Barlow taking up that red buff, securing all the resources on the top side of the map. We have teleport here for Baboon, so he's gone up to the top lane as well. Stand United is ready. All the elements are corralling here for Risen Esports. Final Boss, however, get to secure the skull. They get to get the vision first here. They're going to have to be fighting for this territory. Already coming down with that teleport. That's Baboon. But the dragon's been secured. It was a quick pick up and steal their back end to it onto Nightingale, who's got blown up already. Jim Cantori maybe looking for the showstopper onto things to cut. They're looking for I Am Javi. I Am Javi just has to run against the level 13, has to flash away, but the mobility added there by Keen manages to secure the kill. Jim Cantori going to be able to secure that. We've got a Wukong running mid as well. There's discontent in the process, but overwards, we do get the Drake down over onto the side of Final Boss.
Final Boss just managing to cling into this game, just holding on to that last thread of hope. However, Risen not even needing the showstopper there on Jim Cantor as they just continue to dominate the map. Keeping them from getting the soul, though, definitely keeps them in the game. If they had not got that there, it's looking even more grim. So gold lead here, about 5K. Oh, I don't know if you want this. No, Start. Risen is starting up the Baron.
Yeah, they are, and Treebo says, no thank you, I'm going to try and contest this. Treebo, the Change of Corruption, going to go wide yet again in the back end of it. Cyclone coming up onto Keen. Keen so low, gets flashed on by Zark. Another double knockup. The poke is coming in. The triple kill here for the Wukong. The really nice engagement for Nightingale to follow it up, and this is a whitewash. Final boss have managed to find the fight that they were looking for, and Risen Esports starting up the Baron when they had no priority for.
Risen Esports just crumbling in the moment where they're supposed to establish their dominance, falling to pieces here as this Baron is going to go over to Final Boss Esports.
Yeah, what a fight, team. I mean, that just went awry, and the damage was there. Zark just set that all up. Treebo baited out. The engagement coming out of Steve Fox as well. Missing that Chains of Corruption. And just absolute dominance. Nightingale finally managing to find the window where the CDs were down, could really unleash on the back end of it. And just collecting the Baron, icing on the cake, so they can re-establish the map, re-establish that vision, and try and get down this mid lane tower.
Oh, Shen missing the taunt there. Now, it's worth mentioning that you could say, you know, Zark had a beautiful flank. It's not really a flank if Risen knew he was there. They were actively engaging and fighting him. Keen had fought him just 20 seconds earlier there. I think the play, if you were Risen in that scenario, is to just sort of back off, go north, up towards top lane, wait for them to come towards you, and then just fight them front to back. You know, you have your beefy boys. You have these wonderful ults available to you. You got the death realm to take somebody out. Let's see if they come back in this and shore up and erase their mistakes here. Or let's see if Final Boss is able to take this Baron and just take it home. You know, we're at the point now, 27 minutes. A Baron usually means an inhibitor or at least a threaten at this point in the game.
Yeah, exactly, Tim. So what can they do with this Baron buff? Can they try and push a lead here? They can definitely secure vision around this 5th Drake and try and secure that, try and make it 2-3. That'd be a nice little scenario here for the side of Final Boss. Little wins at this point, trying to claw the way back, but it is gold even now at 45k apiece.
Yeah, this has been a 3,000 gold Baron power play for Final Boss at this point, which is a pretty good pickup. You got to be feeling good. Now, the idea is you keep this control, you don't give it up, you slow push these towers, you grab vision, and incrementally you inch forward. Risen doesn't have a lot of stuff that can keep you off the tower. The Mordekaiser's not going to keep you from hitting the tower. Keen is, but you know, Karma has her cooldowns and her mantras. You have to play around them. Once you see them, you can slow push this in.
Yeah, unless you do get that kind of like flanking position from Zark, though, it is difficult to find those engagements coming out onto the side of Final Boss. So well, the wave clear is there on the side of Risen Esports. They're really struggling to actually get down these T2 towers.
Yeah, it's just the scenario here is basically that Risen doesn't have a whole lot to keep you off the tower. They don't have a lot of high presence champions at the tower, but they have the wave clear, which is two different faucets of, you know, defense and anti-siege. You can have champions that are great at just keeping you away, like a Ziggs, or you can have champions that are just great at wave clearing and become that big threat, like the Mort.
Kind of sounds like you're saying that Ziggs isn't good at wave clear, team, but I'll take the word for it.
No. I was referring not to the wave clear, but to the tower presence aspect of things. Like, how good are you at keeping somebody else from sieging? Not just in regards to wave clear, but how good are you at making somebody not hit a tower with their face?
Yeah, exactly. But what that has done is corralled Risen Esports into their base. That means all of their vision in the river has been swept out, has been cleared now. Baboon face checking Zark as well. Maybe he'll look to take this trade. The Cyclone comes in. Stan United is going to be a 2v1 now. Coming in as Barlow secures the fray. Zark running back to his team. What support does he have? He actually pulls Barlow back into it. Barlow is a tanky boy, but it's going to go down here over to the side of Treebo. Now Nightingale looking for Varus in the back end of it. Steve Fox running for his life. Treebo finds a double kill. Zark back into it, and we do seem to have control over to Final Boss. Baboon finally going to fall as well. Triple going over to Treebo, and they'll be able to secure the Drake as well.
Another bait by Zark. I mean, he went in there, and Risen just full committed to it. The blast cone was a blasphemous cone. If you're a Barlow, that feels so bad to get knocked into. However, Zark at this point has just turned around now 3 separate fights on his own. Wukong is massive, going to finish this death dance here soon and just become a full bruiser hyper carry, assassin, tank, sort of like we're entering Ornn territory at this point when Wukong really gets rolling like this. Story of the game, definitely Zark for Final Boss Esports. Didn't expect it after how hard he got stomped in lane. Nice little poke there coming on a Jim Cantor there too, is by the Ezreal just keeping him the whole way off the tower.
Yeah, not picking up any kills though. He is a little bit behind the curve with the items. Obviously, going for that defensive Iceborne Gauntlet means that Jim Cantori can just kind of shrug off a lot of that with the healing coming out the Ocean Dragon as well. He's going to be going back to base though, getting a little bit of a cheeky back as well. Buying up. What do you think about the item choices? We do now have double Death Stance coming out of Trebo and Zark, and their comp is now online. They do have these strong bruises. They do have the healing coming out of the Soraka, and they are potentially looking good in this game.
For me, I would just like to take a second to question mark Ping's Barlow's choice of the Wit's End. Oh, looks like we will have a quick disconnect here, so we'll have a chance to talk about this. I don't really like the Wit's Shen in this game. It is a viable item for it. You'll see it built according to the UGG 23% of the time on Shen, so about 1 in 4 games. I don't really like it here because he's being matched by an AD threat. His wave clear is already fine with the Hydra. And, Ezreal does do mixed damage, but mostly AD. Diana hasn't really been messing with Shen, and Trebro on the Graves is AD as well. So if you're going to build that, like, what purpose is that fulfilling when you build that? Obviously, you're clearing wave. It gives you the sustain, the heal. But at the same time, it's sort of a redundant build on him, I feel. Maybe he's going to counter the Blade of the Ruined King. I think that might be diving a little bit too deep into the psyche here. Hopefully this pause resolves before too long.
I think it's an ideal buy into like a Rumble or a Mordekaiser or something like that into the top lane. Or if you're matching up against the Diana, yeah, that'd be great. But unfortunately, going up against this Wukong and Trebro now is in his element. 4-0-4 has that shutdown and a shutdown on Zark as well. They're really making plays around the map and drawing the enemy, drawing Risen Esports into places where they don't want to go. And as we saw with that Blast Cone, entertaining Barlow suddenly finding himself in the enemy team and struggling to find something.
Yeah, I think just to sort of finish my iteration there, I think I'd like to see, maybe like a Sunfire Cape would have been a good choice since you're still solving that wave clear, I guess, air quotes, issue, you could call it. But across the board, other than that, fairly standard builds. I'm not really... How many times do you see Nashor's Tooth build on Mordekaiser? I don't know. I don't see a lot of Nashor's Tooth Mords, honestly.
It's becoming popular, more popular. I think with the attack speed does scale obviously a little bit with him. Got that Conquer as well, so going to be able to secure the stacks. So it's more of a dueling, right? If you get him into that realm of death and you can just stack up the auto attacks, it's more reliable, consistent damage, and ultimately your ultimate does give you the time to be able to deal that consistent damage in that duel.
Yeah, it's something I'll have to look into some more because I'm pretty much still used to seeing, Mord go, Leandries into Rylai's. That's, the bread and butter that he usually gets. So if that's something that's rising in favoritism, I'd have to check that out. I'm interested always in like fringe builds and new builds. So that's pretty cool.
I think it's been around for like 6 weeks to 2 months. It's been rising in popularity.
Now, is that something we're only really seeing on Mord mid, or are we seeing that on? Is that something we're also seeing on the top build as well?
I'd say top more so, honestly, because that's more about facing tanks and bruisers, right? So that's more about where that consistent damage plays a bigger role. You're not really looking to sort of burst anyone out, particularly if you are in that sort of middle lane. So definitely in the top, definitely a lot more reliable DPS item. And it's a CDR cap as well that obviously Rylai's Scepter doesn't give you if you're going for that second item. So the CDR is very nice to be able to get that on the item as well. Kind of has everything that Mordekaiser needs because it doesn't have a mana component, obviously, so it's not wasted stats in that regard.
We're able to see him, bust out the Realm of Death every 72 seconds with his current build, which is, pretty potent. Just over a minute cooldown on that ability. However, game state here, we are seeing final bosses. They're only down by 1 kill, down by 1 Drake, but they're up by a tower and now up by 1,000 gold. So this is basically a dead even game. But if you're final boss, you have to be feeling good where your power is. Lethality Varus is kind of notorious for falling off. Wukong will continue to be relevant throughout the game. Graves is now hitting his feels good moment of the game. Diana has those 3 items, and Ezreal is one of the hardest scaling ADCs in the game. And with that defensive build, he just becomes more and more slippery. I mean, Risen really needs to measure what their next action is. The next thing that they do has to be very decisive if they want to go and get themselves back into this game.
I think you're right, Sam, because now we do have that redemption down onto I Am Javi. You can really sustain against a lot of this poke coming out of Steve Fox. But a lot of thing that is resonating from this game is the fact that Final Boss are being proactive. They've really fought back for this lead, and they're not allowing long, extended fights where Steve Fox can get off like multiple 3 or 4 piercing arrows. They are hitting the go button and they are really finding the windows. They're going in with these aggressive picks. They've got a lot of damage on the back end of it as well. We don't have tanks. We have aggressive damage dealers. Blade the Rune King, Death Stance now finished, and Trinity Forces all around with that Black Cleaver to boot. Means that they really can just chunk away at these health bars very quickly. Means that Steve Fox can't get into that sustained attrition war, and any attrition war that is met with Soraka healing.
We haven't had any update on the pause thus far. Haven't seen anything. So the only thing that we were told was AD lag. So I assume at this point probably a full router reset. The router meta is pretty healthy right now, I feel. You just pull the plug out. You pull the plug out, you wait 5 seconds, you plug it back in, you should be back online. Back in the day, the router meta used to be bad when it was separated from the modem, and now it's kind of just the meta has shifted into those 1-unit routers.
When did you last update your router? Tim?
Oh goodness, the firmware on that thing is probably 2 years old, at least. But hey, it works. I'm here. I'm present.
Keeping it current, Tim. Keeping it current. That's what I like to see. A man's on the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like my game knowledge. It paused in season 8, and I forgot that Mordekaiser could build the Nashor's Tooth.
Right, still thought Force of Nature was in the game, just living back in the heyday.
Oh man.
Kage's a lucky pick.
So let me tell you about Force of Nature. Force of Nature.
That on Mordekaiser was a fantastic item back in the day.
It was Atma's Impaler, Warmog's Armor, Garen. It was ridiculous. There was nothing that could stop you if you had those 3 items.
Yeah, definitely Atma's and Planar converting. Well, it was converting armor into AD, yeah?
Basically, yeah. And then there was an iteration where I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there was one where it also turned some of your health into AD as well. The Atmogs build.
Oh. Yeah, it was health, it wasn't armor, but it had armor
on it, yeah. So you got the double dip. That was back in the day when the Juggernaut.
That was the double dipping.
Yeah.
Well, that was before Darius came on the scene and really the Juggernauts really kind of took off, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was back in the day where they had just fixed Garen building 6 Sunfire Capes and Evelyn doing 6 Sunfire Capes. There was no unique passives on the items. So you could buy 3 Deathfire Grasps and it wouldn't put the first one on cooldown. Like you could just be like, boom, boom, boom. So then they patched it so it did a % of the health that they had. So it wouldn't
I don't think I ever did that, but I definitely built like 4 or 5 Black Cleavers in a game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you used to be able to just ult somebody with Malzahar, which is where I learned to play him. You just ult them and then Deathfire, Deathfire, Deathfire. They couldn't even activate their summoner spells.
And then if they haven't died, you just Malefic Visions and they just walk away.
Yeah. I don't think there was any scenario in which they didn't die, though. That got fixed pretty quickly. That was right after the introduction of DFG. That was fixed, just a couple weeks later, I think.
No, haven't played a lot of Malzahar. Only played him on ARAM.
Yeah, you're not missing much. I promise you. As somebody that's put about 300 games into him the last 2 seasons, you're not missing much.
He takes a while to get going with his wave clear, though, so I feel like his kit is quite clunky, and then he's so ult dependent. He's kind of like Annie, but at least Annie has a fallback of your like passive stun, right? So you
Yeah,
can always
that's
look for something like that. But the Tibbers update as well. I'm surprised we're not seeing a little bit more Annie and like the LCS and stuff, and particularly
well,
in these types of games and stuff. Annie's a strong pick, and as LS said, like if you want to climb, play Annie.
he is actually currently disabled in all major leagues, including the amateur
Oh,
league.
is she?
She's currently actually disabled in the league that we're casting right
Oh,
now because there's actually a bug which I don't know how to reproduce it, and
okay.
even if I did, I wouldn't share it. Where Annie's passive, the 4 stack passive, is actually removing cooldowns from other people's abilities. So like
Wow.
she's her passive, and for some reason, there's a rare glitch. Okay, we just got told that he's trying to restart all of his stuff with no luck. So his internet's still bogged. I'm not sure on the clarification on how long you can pause in an Upsurge game. Um, I know it has to be soon. There's no way they're going to allow like the full 30-minute pause
It's
here.
probably 4 more minutes to go, 15 minutes. Except they were waiting for Barlow to join, so this is game one's stream started at 8 p.m. and it's 10 past 9 and we're only 30 minutes into a game. We've got it, Tame. Do apologize, guys, if you are still with us. Thank you so much for staying with us here at Risen Esports, following our Risen Esports team in the UCL League versus Final Boss. They are currently 4-0, so they are in a good spot right now, trying to get their fifth win on the board against Final Boss, who are 2-2 currently. But they had a really strong early game, and a couple of creative plays from their top and jungle over onto the side of Zark and Treebro has meant that their early dragon stacking has been thwarted, and we're now in a pretty even state currently in the game.
Worth mentioning is if he can, Mr. Fox can get back. A lot of times these pauses work as like complete swings or resets in a game. I've had games where my organization has been losing by like 10 kills, or for example, and the enemy team will pause for something similar to what we're seeing here, and then when they came back they're just disjointed, or not who they were before the pause. I feel like it really does take you out of the game, and you have to sort of, it's not as simple as just unpausing and continuing what you were doing. You have to sort of reset and think about what was going on, especially in ones that are this long, where we're hitting about 15 minutes here.
Yeah, exactly. The clock is ever ticking. Only a couple of minutes left, and I'm thinking that they're going to have to unpause and just play 4v5. They haven't really had a win in a while, however, so potentially looking bad for us in esports. As we said, that lethality Paris kind of has petered off a little bit. We have Death Dance. This is a lot of armor actually stacking on this Ezreal right now. If I hover over his character, currently 165 armor on an 80 carry. That's packing a punch.
Yeah, and it's actually the meta right now. So you have, the tank damage dealer, Ezreal. His damage doesn't even really suffer that much. And then you got to remember as well that Death's Dance stores 20% of the damage and applies it to you as a damage over time effect. Whereas, Ezreal is capable of getting his health back fairly quickly with the effect on the Death Stance. You throw out 2 Qs and you're basically canceling 20% of all the damage that you take. So even the 160 armor is actually quite deceptive with how tanky that makes you. However, in the next patch that we just got previewed on the PBE, Ezreal will only be storing, well, not Ezreal in particular, ranged users will only be storing 10% of damage rather than 20. So I'd like to throw a big fat F in the chat for Urgot, because that is basically the end of Urgot in the meta right now, because he is considered a ranged champion and is so reliant on that item.
Yeah, he
Poor,
really does become a powerhouse when he does get that item, but you're right. Going down from 30 to 10%. I understand why they're doing it and like buffing all of the melee components, like they buffed the Blade of the Rune King to uh, deal 12% rather than 8%. Um, but when 80 carries, they are definitely on the fringe of what they can do. They aren't really playmakers unless you're playing like an Ash with the ult or Steve Fox, kind of with this iteration of the build where you are going that lethality, and you're more playing like a poke AD mage at this point rather than an actual like auto attacking AD carry. You've got Ezreal on the side who's a spell slinger, pretty much just throwing out mystic shots at max range, not really auto attacking a great deal unless he can find the window to do so. Uh, uh, the meta of like crit ADC is definitely not prevalent in this game.
I mean, which everybody kind of, I think, thought it was going to be. But I don't think everybody also anticipated Death Dance to have such a heavy impact on the game and Varus to do so much damage. I think, like, honestly, Varus has only really been nerfed a little bit the last couple patches, and we are going to resume play here. Probably looking grim for Risen. However, with this, the changes here with the ADC, it's not how people thought it was going to shake out. In fact, they're following up and giving Lucian even more buffs here soon. So this sort of like crit or hybrid ADCs are definitely still lacking behind a little bit.
Well, now Tame, you're just seeing a lot of like Darius and Garant and stuff just go Phantom Dancer and just enjoying that extra little bit of movement speed instead, right? So it's definitely swings and roundabouts. If you're trying to buff ADCs and giving it on items, then it means that items can get abused by other roles as well, particularly if you're putting melee modifiers on those to increase the stats or modifiers on them. But losing out on the AD carry means that they've lost a lot of threat in the side lane, and they're just potentially going to get choked out. Means that Barlow is going to struggle in the side lane now against his 3 items arc. And is there any chance for them to get back into this game 4v5, or is it looking grim?
I mean, with the momentum the way it already was and the way that, they must be feeling mentally right now, I don't feel that there is. I think they just take the Baron here, and then they can probably just force the base down without Risen's ADC being there. I don't really see a scenario where being down a player at this level of play there's any viable solution for them to win. We'll see,
Yeah.
though. We'll see.
They are baiting around the Baron here. Baboon actually gets the plant over, already down to half health, means that the Baron control going to be very securely in the hands of Final Boss. We got Zark with that teleport available, matching Barlow in the bottom. Stand United is ready. Potentially a steal could be in the work here for Jim Cantori. What can he do? Will he look for this hero play? Teleport getting channeled as well onto the side of Final Bosses. That's the Wukong into the mix. He's just trying to zone now. He's trying to zone Jim Cantori on the back end of it. Just looking, gonna look for that Cyclone. The knockup is there. The Showstopper into the back end of it as well. But the re-engage is good. Jim Cantori has to run away. Baboon flashing the wall there. Zark trying to secure himself away. The Realm of Death is going to open, and it's going to expose him to the 3v1 situation that he doesn't want. Is actually traded as Jim Cantori finds something over the wall. Going to be able to get Zark down as well. But the Baron goes over to Final Boss.
Yeah, played out how I thought it was going to there. There was no real opportunity for Set to get into the pit because they had no sort of like poke or ability of contention anywhere near the Baron, and now you're going to see Wukong pick up the Quicksilver Sash as well. I think this is the final push. I believe Wukong... no, he doesn't have a TP available, that's right. I was going to say he can just TP in, but it looks like they are going to decide that discretion is the better part of Valor. And back off here!
Tim, I wonder whether or not this will be an FF for Game 2 and a potential Game 3, or whether or not Dandy Cute Body, who did play last week, can come back into the ADC role if they can't get the issues sorted out for Steve Fox. But the Dragon spawning yet again. This will be the 6th Drake in the game. Going to be a very long time before we see an Elder coming up onto the Rift as well. That should be able to get secured over onto the side of Final Bosses. They'll look for that push, having opened that top inhibitor.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. We still haven't seen Mr. Fox come back yet. Haven't heard anything from Danny Cute Body yet. That's the hero that they're hoping for and need, which really is a shame for Risen because of how well Steve Fox was playing. I mean, I think is Jim caught close enough. I mean, as soon as they realize their power spike here and just force this down, they're not taking any risk. I don't think they want to even give the chance of giving Risen the Ocean Salt. I don't blame them.
I mean, they can play it slow here. They've got Supers heading down into the top lane. They've got a split pushing Nightingale with that teleport in mid. They have to answer that. That means that they clear out of the area. Drake very easily going into the hand of Final Boss as I now push in, get all lanes pushing down. We got the invade coming out of Nightingale, securing out the red buff as well. Going to be able to join his team into the middle lane. Zark is there for backup as well. They could potentially even win that 3v2 in the mid. Got the push coming down to the bottom lane. They'll be able to match up with the wave, and looks like the nail in the coffin over onto the side for Risen Esports.
Yeah, everything's looking pretty dark here, Rook. I really don't see any viable solutions. Don't think there's really any analysis needed. When you have 20% more players on one side than you have on the other side. Here
Zuck looking for the engagement. Showstopper into the back end. That means he's secured away. Zuck trying to run. The wish comes down as well. Treebro onto the back end, but he's got GA. It doesn't matter. Zuck staying strong, getting all of the healing in the world. Getting all the healing. Will finally go down to the tower. Nightingale reaches into the back end of it and rips open Risen Esports on the back end. And Keen will just run away back to the base. The GGs comes out, and Final Boss have won the first game of Week 5 at the ULC.
Uh, Odd circumstances, but congratulations to Final Boss. They also could have rolled over and basically lost that game before Steve Fox even DC'd. That was a very real possibility. So just hanging in there, showing adversity, finding their holes back into the game. Good job in game one. I mean, we'll have to see. We'll come back to you guys here soon and let you know what's going on with game two.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in with us. I know that was a very long game one, but this is a best of 3 series. Hopefully, coming at you against Risen Esports versus Final Boss. Final Boss winning that game number one with a little bit of a disconnect issue. Also having that scaling comp, having those solo laners really ramping up into the game. Zark played so well, and Nightingale too, pushing into that. We'll be right back potentially with game number 2. Stay tuned in the chat. We will send a notification if game 2 is going ahead here, and we'll be back after a short break. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hello and welcome back to the delayed week 5 here of the UCL between Risen Esports and Final Boss. My name is Victor and casting with me this evening is Tame.
Yeah, welcome back. The bans for Risen appear to be placeholder bans again, as I do believe they ran out their clock. Risen did take away the Wukong away from Final Boss this time. They did allow them to grab the Graves and Yumi though, which are two huge priority picks right now.
Yeah, first pick in the Aphelios is a bold play, though. A lot of high DPS with that pick as well. And with matching that with Wukong and Azir, now you just need control. Your damage is set with those two champions. You don't really need to go too heavily into that. You could place a nice tank in the jungle, potentially like a Zac or something, or a Sejuani would be quite nice with that comp. And just whatever you feel rounds out the team comp with that support, potentially an engage. Or if you want just that peel for Aphelios to match that Yumi, or you could go for that shutdown. You could go for that Nautilus if you really wanted to play aggro. But it is difficult. Ezreal can control that lane state with the Yuumi and play quite safe under tower and free farm with those Mystic shots.
Yeah, and it looks like they did pick up the Yumi Ezreal, which is probably the most devastating combo in high elo or pro play right now, aside from possibly Varus. So I mean, their bot lane should be completely solid and ready to rock. Risen so far is showing a pretty solid draft. I actually don't dislike the first pick of Helios. He's a pretty well-rounded ADC right now since he, can do so many things with all of his different guns.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I mean, just the AOE control that can come out of that is wonderful. Cassiopeia, however, locked in here for final boss. We mentioned that the mid laner Nightingale generally played those control mages or that Diana or Fizz. So going more for that control mage now means that he's going to be matching Azir blow for blow in the middle lane.
Yeah, I mean that's a lane right there that Cass has to be really, really careful of in the late or the early game. But late game, they are both just like sort of hyper scaled, like burning it down mages. Azir with possibly a little bit more high end outplay potential, but Cass with one of the highest, if one of the highest, if not the highest single target DPS in the entire game. We are going to see them rounded out with this sort of safe
That's
Maokai
going to unset.
set. Yeah, I'm not sure if Risen's going to send Set into the top or jungle here. Definitely a good flex for them. Believe Wukong goes better into the Graves early if they wanted to send him into the jungle, but it does give them a good little flex pick, as Risen loves to do.
Yeah, exactly. We do have that Maokai now finally locked in for final boss. Definitely gonna go up into that top lane. You can either match that with the Wukong or the set. Both can go Blair the Rune King. Both can relatively deal with that threat up into that. But it is just that tank line over onto the side of Maokai. And when you have a Yumi on the back of a Maokai, if you do not have healing reduction, I'm sure they will buy early on, particularly into that bottom lane as well for the Aphelios, trading into that Ezreal Yumi. You can just sustain for days on this tree.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the state of the meta right now. Is we're in a very sustain heavy meta. Last season we were in like the burst meta, and now it seems like we've transitioned into the almost the opposite. However, the sustain isn't really coming out of tanks as you would expect. It's coming out of like carry characters. So we're seeing a lot more of like a volatile and explosive playstyle, which honestly at a high level tends to be more exciting. So I can't hate the meta right now. It's always shifting, and Riot generally does a fairly good job of sort of nudging it in a new direction each season. But good lord, I hope we have less healing next season. It's a little bit obscene right now.
Yeah, I really like this center pickup actually into the support position against the Yumi Ezreal. Yumi Ezreal was definitely playing just to sort of survive the laning phase and try and get that war of attrition going. But center deals so much damage and that little bit of extra healing that you can apply to yourself. And Ophidius, when he does get that red gun, he can just sustain up himself as well. With that life steal, means that they can play quite aggressive in this lane. Center can get a lot of stacks on the Ezreal, has to play careful as well. Means that Yumi, if you do come out and try to auto attack, if you do trade for that shield, you are giving stacks over to the center who will be relevant in the game, but obviously going to be playing that more control style with that Aphelios and Azir damage coming out in the late game.
Yeah, it's sort of anybody's game here, but I feel like the momentum is definitely with Final Boss Esports here. Risen has to be feeling a little bit thrown off here. Hopefully, Steve Fox is able to play. We don't even know if his internet is doing well yet. We just know that he was able to connect. So all we can do is sort of wait and see here as we get into game two.
Yeah, exactly, team. Hopefully, it isn't another 15-minute pause, but we are now loading into the Rift. Really looking forward to game number two between these two teams. For game two is a best of three. Risen Esports up against Final Boss, already down a game. Unfortunately, disconnect for Steve Fox. Can he maintain his connection all the way through game number two? We'll take a short break, throw it back to you guys, and we'll be right back in a couple of moments on the Rift. Hello and welcome back to game two for the UCL Week 5 bracket. Risen Esports versus Final Boss. Final Boss taking game number one, loading onto the Rift for game number two. My name is Richter and casting with me this evening is Tame.
Welcome everybody back to the Rift. Apologies for all the delays here. Not a whole lot we could do over on the production side. However, it does look like Risen was able to get Steve Fox back into the game, so we're going to have some more action here on the Rift. Looking down across the map here, it looks like they did send set top into the Maokai, so that's going to be a large wet noodle fight. And they did put the Wukong into the Graves, which I know he does go better early. So probably good decision from them. You know, Jim Cantor is one of their best players. Otherwise, everything went as expected.
Jim Cantori also played the Wukong last week, so
Yeah,
he is prevalent with that champion and does really enjoy it. So it should be interesting. A little bit more creative ganking path as well. Obviously, with that invisibility allows a little bit more access. But Baboon just wanting to scale up, get to that Emperor's Divide, matching Nightingale's Cassiopeia, who could be so lethal in the late game if you can get a lead, if you can get that sustain.
a little off topic here, but I'd like to give a kind of shout out to the World Breaker Maokai skin. That thing's looking pretty fresh. Haven't seen that in game until this, so I personally rock some World Breaker Malzahar. That's definitely one of the cooler skins that's in the game. GG to World Breaker Maokai.
Yeah, I'm trying to just decide what he looks like, but I really feel it's kind of like voodoo-ish or almost like voodoo tree style.
Tech inspired. He's using a chroma, I believe, but they're meant to look like an Aztec sacrificial altar, basically. Because he's the altar, and then Trundle is the god, and Malzahar is the sacrifice guy in this one with the dagger and everything. I think that's the theme they were going for.
A little bit of a backstory there, Tame. Well, it is easy days. Currently, difference is Jim Cantori is playing towards that top side of roaming down to the bottom. We do have a ward actually on his red, so they will know the pathing. I wonder if Treebro will make a change in his decision. Potentially, Jim Cantori going to be looking for an invade onto the bottom side of that blue buff that he does sort of seem to like doing, but that ward will fade. He'll be able to go over to that red buff, and we'll see if he looks to play that aggressive ganking path or go for the invade into the bottom side, which is already taken by Treebro.
Yeah, like both junglers are just kind of sitting in their own quadrant here. I mean, Graves kind of wants to farm, and Wukong kind of wants to farm too, and the lanes seem fairly stable right now. So you might see them just not. That's also a possibility of just not. However, Nightingale taking a lot of damage there in the mid lane, really getting beat up there by Baboon, who's also low. So I mean, we got some smacking going on in this mid lane.
We have a gank potentially coming in as well, but not too much to be had for Treebro. Nightingale low on mana as well, just trying to sustain up. Already used all of those corrupting potions and pots used for Baboon as well. So heavy engagement in the mid lane. You always want to trade and check mark the fact that Nightingale, if you have mana, that is kind of health bar and equal to, so it needs to be careful when Nightingale has that mana back up. Baboon already down to half health, and again the aggression coming out. But Jim Cantori is there, already gone for the invis, getting the slowdown onto Nightingale. Here comes Jim Cantori, hopping over, forcing the flash, trading for Nightingale. First blood's gonna go over to the monkey. Jim Cantori strikes again.
Yeah, really exciting first blood there. I thought that honestly Cass saw Jim, but I guess it was just out of the cone of vision there. Really good positioning to be able to finish off that gank. As like you said, we do see the first blood go over to Risen here, and a quick 1,000 gold lead. So, you know, they're taking it to them a little bit in farm and grabbing that F.
Yeah, somehow, I didn't see it, but Barlow based, he's come back with a cull as well, very early on into the game. So he's just playing the free farming game here. He's frozen the wave up into the top lane. Barlow is chilling. He is having a great time against the tree, just free farming this wave. Knows his limits, gonna lose a minion to the tower as well, but he doesn't care. Just looking to maintain this free for as long as possible and just farm up in this lane.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to build a call on set, Maokai is one of the safest people to grab it into. I mean, you're not going to feel very heavily pressed. It still is smacking him around here, though. Wow.
He's got that true damage, a little bit of a roam coming down here for Nightingale. Already teleported back to lane. Aggression coming out of the bot lane as a mystic shot. An arcane shift forward for YCC. They're going to have to base. I do think he does have the gold 4 tier, so he'll be able to back and get that stuck in over the bot lane. But as we said, Yuumi Ezreal is not about winning lane. It's just about getting through that laning phase with a lot of farm on the Ezreal when you could find it.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to scale no matter what on both those champions. It's just how fast do you scale. Now, the more pressure that Risen applies to them, obviously, the slower that they scale. It's basically like a ticking time bomb at this point. We are going to see the first dragon spawning in. Nobody's really set up around it yet. It is being pinged, however, by Risen. So it looks like, Jim has been notorious for going for early objectives. So it looks like he may be setting up to go around it right now. They're currently shoving for mid prio. Bot's going to crash at like a neutral area. I don't think Bot's really going to go over there and want to fight the Drake at this point on their setup. So it looks like might be an early first Drake for Risen here.
Yeah, Jim Cantori is looking over it, already pinked the bush. He's going to start that up level 5. We have that immense lead into the bottom lane. Just want to note the fact that if you are an ADC and you do have that free farming lane, if you can get that towards the cannon, which you did back for that BF sword, the wave throws there as well. They'll be able to clear that as well, pick up loads of soul on Keen as well, push out that bot lane for the priority to allow the Wukong, Jim Cantori, to be able to take this Drake. Slowly going to get spotted out here as Treebro comes along, but it's already been taken. Scuttle now getting contested as well, but with this priority now brought up from the bottom lane, means that if any engagement, if he does come over, Treebro needs to be a little bit careful. He's trying to find his window. He's now on a ward. 3v2 is going to come into effect. The Wukong, Jim Cantori's back, and just got to disengage here. Gets rooted up as well. So close to the tower. Really nice freezing now coming on the side of Final Boss, means that no more engagement comes from it.
Really good use of Curse of the Black Mist there out of Keen as well, turning them both into that spirit form. As soon as they saw Graves sweeping that ward, that was like an instantaneous reaction. Really shutting down that gank there was Keen. So we are seeing now Risen taking a 1,500 gold lead with a Drake and a kill lead. So they've got to be feeling good about their early game. Oh man. Blink and you miss it. And YYC almost goes down. However, he does have a babysitter, and Yuumi still has some mana, so we can expect to see him sustain back up, especially with the wave crashing here.
Keen does not care about minion aggro at all in both of these games. Like, this guy is just playing so far forward right now. Just really shoving it into the throats of the bottom lane there as well. Barlow's securing all this farm up into the top lane as well. Already 50% on that cull. Clancy, but that wasn't the support from last game, was it? Did they swap supports over on the side of Final Boss?
Yes, because it was I am Yavi or Javi, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but I mean he got stomped pretty hard in lane. I really can't blame them for the swap here. And it I was gonna say I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes when the person's playing Yuumi, however. We could always reference the guy that got to plat with playing Yuumi with his feet. Literally, he controlled the ADC with his mouse and keyboard and had like a DDR pad under his feet and played Yuumi that way.
Oh. I don't think I could do that, Tabe. I would be so like discoordinated. I don't know. I feel like you'd almost have to just like have it on a macro or something and just like an auto clicker or just like heal on cooldown or something and hope that it worked out for you.
I mean, you could always just take your feet and just kick like a little infant. Just start smashing the DDR pad. Oh, here we
Yeah, engagement up into the top lane. Barlow looking a little bit low, but the 2v1 going to come into effect. The grid is down. Zark's on the chase, but the Cyclone doesn't quite save his top lane. And now Treebro looking for a little bit more, potentially Cyclone second trigger. They're not going to find anything too much more as Baboon is rotating from the mid lane as well. But kill down in the top lane.
I mean, I feel like the comms were a little bit off there on Risen. If he had waited just a second or sort of positioned a little bit differently and waited for Jim, I think that fight goes a lot differently for Risen Esports there. However, as it stands, we're allowing Final Boss back into the game, closing that gold gap and picking up their first kill of the game.
Yeah, I just wonder how much aggression this bottom lane can take, as they've only got 2 plates left. They are just chugging down ever more Keen playing aggressive. Now the gank comes into effect. Trebo is there. The engagement with the Lost Chapter coming in. The Arcane shift forward aggressively as well. They are all on Steve Box, but he's flashed defensively. Now they're going back onto it. Barlow's up into the bot lane as well. He's got the double. It's paid dividends for them, and they are rooting the bot lane here. They can get more plates. They've got a roam coming down over onto the side of Baboon as he's teleported to the bot lane as well. And they'll get the plates. They'll get the tower. And they'll really open up the map.
Ooh, Cass throwing out the ult, however, really not getting a whole lot out of it, just catching him on the edge of that ult. Jim will be able to soak up some minions here, so for the jungler and Risen being able to get that full cannon wave plus the double wave is going to feel really good for him in terms of grabbing XP as well, keeping him even or ahead of Treebro there. You always got to feel good when you're a cheeky little jungler able to sneak in and get a wave or two.
It feels good. Definitely keeps you kind of at level with the curve as well if you're not having the best of games. Has already got a kill to his name though, and that double kill over to Barlow means that he's now at threat, being able to kill this Maokai in the top lane over Zark, who had a really good game on that Wukong game number 1. Blade the Rune King coming out for Barlow as well, so when that does get completed, means that Zark's going to have to be careful in a longer lane, potentially going to need to take a tower to be able to do that.
Yeah, taking a look across the board here, you know, he still does have 31 stacks on that call, so he's got a little bit till he can finish that and get the dividends off of the call. However, he is the only person in the game with a bounty right now, if we take a look up at Barlow. And Nightingale TP's back. Oh!
Emperor's Divide into the mid lane. The stun comes out for Barlow as well. A Nightingale falls. That'll open up the Dragon over onto the side of Risen Esports as they're looking to claim the early game for themselves. Now they're tracing onto Trebo, but he can get over the wall as well. YYC with Yumi on his back is just trying to find the poke, but the objectives and trades are going over onto the side of Risen Esports as they'll look to take the second drink of the game.
Throw out the question mark pings and open the coffin. We got Drake number 2 coming in for Risen.
Yeah, can they maintain the stacking though? They managed to get 3 last game and then they kind of fell apart. They had that lethality, but this time they have that Aphelios. They have the scaling who's looking for that Infinity Edge.
Yeah, I mean, Risen's running a really tight ship right now as they are back up 4K. It's a similar lead to what they had last time. But we have to remember that it wasn't just Risen losing like the player that disconnected. They actually just started losing fights even when they were ahead almost 7,000 gold at one point in the last I believe it got up to about like 6,500 gold. Oh, here we go. Keen caught out.
Gets rooted. Has to be careful now. Jim Cantori looking forward as well with Baboon on the flank, but it's a 3-man party here for the side of Final Boss, and they'll just retreat as a unit away from the aggression. That means Rift Held's going to get started up for Jim Cantori. He's looking to push it out as well. Just zoning away here for the side of Keen. He is level 7, has to be careful as well. Barlow's now roaming up to match. We have a little bit of a delay there for Nightingale, who's trying to roam to the top side of the map. That means that presence and pressure is there for Risen Esports. Barlow now on the front line, potentially going to get caught up. Nightingale in the advance here. Barlow has to retreat. The teleport comes down. Big shield comes out of the haymaker though. Treebo has to retreat. Got Yumi on his back. Comes towards Zarks now. The tree is on the front line, but he's just getting blown up here. Steve Fox is free firing into the back line. Now they're looking for Nightingale. Nightingale looks for the turn with the ultimate petrifying gaze, trying to find and connect with somebody. YYC has to bail as well, and Risen Esports win another fight.
Oh my goodness, Zark going full Chad mode, just charging into that fight there and paying for it with his life. As we see, as you said, Risen Esports winning another fight. They're going to pick up this tower here in the mid lane. Nope, spoke too soon, sorry. Thought they had a little bit more minion support there. But man, Zark doing his best impression and cosplay of Wukong, forgetting it was on the other team and under a different person's control as he does go in on the Maokai there. Really good Cass ult to stop that from turning into disaster though out of Nightingale there. I'm not sure if he caught that one or not. Nightingale caught a good few members, I believe it was 3 of Risen there, and basically saved the fight for their team from just being a complete dismantling.
Yeah, exactly. Same now on the rope. So Blade the Rune King finished for Barlow, so that means that Zark will be under threat up into that top lane. Do have the grievous wounds, however, Bramble Vest secured very early on in the process, looking for that Sunfire Cape with this Mount Immunity stacking up. That's already 50% done over on the side that tower in the middle lane does finally fall to the assault, but there's a gank up into the top lane. Nature's Grasp has been used. Barlow's on the front line, just trying to get a massive shield coming out of Barlow, though, as he looks to turn it around, looking for Trebo. Can't quite find it as Trebo survives, and he gets the heal as well.
Trebo getting out of there with sub 100 health. Wow, managing to pull that one out of there. Just goes to show you, though, at this point in the game, though, how strong Barlow is on that set. You know, he's got 3 ticks left on the call, so that's a definite feels bad to die right there, as he will want to go back to base at some point and sell that. So really unfortunate death timer there. Final Boss Esports really keeping this one pretty even. It feels like it's a tale of the same game as the first one here, as we see Risen's mid game not quite as strong as their early game was.
Yeah, Keen just pushing now, ever threatening. 61 stacks already, 50 minutes is absolutely immense right now on Keen. Just you see all of these little nuggets coming out with the Grasp of the Undying Proc as well, means that you're a little bit tankier, looking for that early Frozen Mallet build to get the slow rather than that Glacial Augment build, means that they're in a really good place. And this threat coming out means that Senna's going to be impacting the game very, very soon, stacking up.
Yeah, it feels like I'm watching Senna poke down a tower here, and it's like it almost seems as if Senna's range is almost equal to a tower's range. I think it's, what is the break point? It's like 122 souls to outrange a tower or something, I believe. Somewhere around there.
It's a bit, but it's like 140 or 160.
Oh, it's up there? Okay.
You've got to get up there. I think I did a custom game at one point and try to get like 500 stacks or something crazy like that, and the range was pretty entertaining then. But you don't definitely have time to do that in a normal game. Generally, if you can get to like 80 stacks or anywhere between 80 and 120, you're doing pretty well. You're kind of at your threshold. But hitting that 60 mark 50 minutes in the game means that you've had a really good poke lane. As we said, a nice pick into the Yuumi, and really mitigating a lot of what Yuumi can do is you can just out-trade there with the damage and you have the healing, but potentially going to get caught in the back end of it. But who's getting caught? As we do have Trebo just going down, double cyclone onto him. Jim Cantori finds the trade, but flashing it aggressively. Now the Magpie wants to fight Naked Grasp as well. Looking aggressive, going forward to Barlow, but he's just retreating back to his team. Now Zark's just holding the line evermore. But it's the Drake the Risen Esports want, and it's the Drake that they will get, as they won't be able to find it. True Shot Barrage doesn't quite find it. It was closer on the second dragon, not quite finding the third as well.
I'm almost starting to feel like I'm in some kind of like time chamber or something, because we're in an exact same Drake situation, basically. Not the same type, obviously. 3-0, couple kill lead for Risen here, about a 4,000 gold lead, almost 5,000 at the same point in the game. It's like it's like deja vu as we get deeper into the mid game of this game here. However, we are seeing the Ezreal now at an item and a half. Not quite as scaled as he'd like to be right now, as he has only had 1 assist and no kills. He's getting there. It's becoming scary, you know. Yuumi sitting on almost a finished item. But however, we look over to Risen, you know, the Azir already has an item. He's pretty much, Azir feels like he's online as soon as you get that Nashor's Tooth. Like, you feel good from there on out. Everything else just feels like a bonus, like gravy on your biscuits, pretty much.
Oh, Zark's in a world of trouble right now. He's going to have to get to the plant. He's going to have to get over the wall if he can find it. He misses it, though. He misses it. He's got to go in. He's got to trade for something. He's looking for Steve Fox. He has the XP lead. He has the tankiness, but I don't think he quite has the items. A really nice route out of Keen just means that he'll get secured over onto Steve Fox as well. Jim Cantori looking for a little bit more onto Trebo. Can't quite find anything, and that was a disastrous plant trying to get over the wall.
Zark's been in all the wrong places at the wrong time in this game after being the real hero of their team in the first game. I mean, he still has that like Chad mentality, but he's playing a tree at this time. He's sort of playing like he's on like a, you know, like a Wukong or Fiora style character. Just doesn't have the kit to really back up his ideas.
Yeah, Trebo looking for a little bit of wave clear, but gets rooted up. Potentially looking for a little bit more. Has to retreat away from this tower. 1 more minion left. I'll be able to tank a little bit of this Jim Cantori on the front line. They're just looking to poke this down with damage that they have. The backdoor bonus now in effect means that they can't secure that. They'll have to get that onto the next wave. We do have Rift Herald, a very late Rift Herald actually spawning as well. They're actually going to start this up. They're now racing for this as well. They have about 15 seconds to be able to secure this. With Azir roaming over there, they should have the DPS to be able to get this down in quick position.
Oh yeah, they definitely, no problem. It only took him about 10 seconds to do the Herald there. We are going to see that on Jim Cantor, who's had pretty good macro skills throughout this series. So he's gonna know where to drop it. I don't think it's gonna last the whole way to the next Drake. If it was, that would be a great insurance policy and a soul secured for them, most likely.
Do you drop it bot and try and make a play for an early Baron buff potentially? Like, I mean, you have a Z, you have a Philios, like, you definitely have a lot of damage. You have the Executioner's Calling already finished for Steve Fox as well. We mentioned a lot of healing on the side of Final Boss as well, so a nice pickup for him. And Barlow is so strong in this side lane that potentially they could pull it off.
I feel like, personally, if I was Risen Esports right here, I would actually be comfortable with this slow play. With like the Wukong finishing items, the Ophelio scaling pretty much as well as the Ezreal. Like you mentioned, how Senna can just keep grabbing souls around the map. Everything just feels good for them to just sort of slow play until they can get soul. If they lose soul, then I think they need to start thinking more about the Baron. But at this point in the game, I think just keeping vision and keeping control of the map is the way to go. They are, starting to ping the Drakes here in about a minute and 25 seconds. So it looks like they actually will have the Herald for that. I miscalculated that one a little bit. Yeah, Jim's still going to have a good handle on that Herald. So I expect him to just throw it out and probably try to take the Drake as it'll be expiring right around when the Drake spawns.
A little bit of emotes. Baboon stealing the farm away from Steve Fox, who was just chilling out in lane, just wants to try and finish his second item of the game. But they both got to get items.
He's just saying, he's like, dude, you're going to DC here at 26 minutes anyway, so why am I giving you any farm? He's like, just leave it for me. Because this game is basically a replay of the first one at this point. But now we have to see, can Final Boss make it a replay, grab this Drake here. They are positioning correctly for it. They want it. They know they can't give up the soul. We're going to see some high-intensity action gameplay here in just about a minute. Less than a minute at this point, actually.
I want to see YYC poking more. He needs to play a little bit more aggressive. Use the fact that Ezreal has that range, has that safety. See what he can find. But already the teleport coming down here. Baboon is on the rift right now. Here comes the aggression coming out. YYC looking for the poke. But it's Treebro currently tanking the front line, just looking to create that space for YCC to get the poke down for his team as well. Final Boss currently have position on the Dragon. They've started up as well. They're just chugging it away onto the back end of it. They have the tree. They have Zark being able to get in, but Jim Cantori tries to get in, but it's already taken, and he's stunned up. Jim Cantori has to flash away. Cycloning as well, but it doesn't matter. Barlow into the back end of it as well. Massive showstopper into the back end of it, trying to get down onto Nightingale, but will be able to flash away themselves to safety. Has the Yumi on the back as well. Now they're coming back into it. Treebo maybe looking for a little bit of a wraparound if they can find anything else.
Deja what? Deja who? Deja vu. The answer delivered by Final Boss Esports.
Barlow hands up into the bottom lane. YCC gonna come over the net and secure that for his team as well. Ending out with a couple of kills there, turning the game around, getting the Dragon. And as you say, deja vu to game number one, because there was a 5k gold lead and now it's a 4k gold lead and it's going the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta feel particularly disheartening for Risen here. I mean, I know that we get the benefit of seeing all the vision and being observers and everything here as we're streaming the game, but I feel like the positioning out of Risen there was almost unquestionably. I feel like if you're going to go for the steal like Jim did, you want to come in from the back. He had his flash there. They could have secured some vision. Or if you want to go for a fight, you need to come up from like bot side when you realize that you're being aggressed like they were. You mentioned Ezreal poking. He did a very good job of zoning and poking during that fight. I would have liked to see, Baboon maybe TP bot instead of TPing right into the mid lane bush there like we saw. There's a lot of things that they could have done. I think some of it might have been that they felt so secure in their position in the game that they maybe went a little bit lax on their macro before they picked up that Drake there.
Yeah, Rift Herald finally rises its head into the middle lane. It's actually getting DPS down. We have the tower placed down by Baboon as well. The Rift Herald not going to be able to find anything. Zark in the back end of it as well. Jim Cantori's already used one Cyclone, looking for the second knockup as well. Barlow's there for the retreat. Already flashed up. He's going to get rooted down, but he goes back into it with that twisted advance. Going to be able to trade, actually, as Jim Cantori goes down as well. The tree is strong, and Zark will stand and trade for the kills. Emperor's Divide misses as well as Baboon tries to make the play for the team. Well, now, YC looking for the poke on the back end of the fight as well, going yet again for that Iceborne Gauntlet, looking for that tankiness in the back end of it, trying to get a little bit more poke down. Can't quite find it for the team, but yet again, trading the kills. This is good and stalling tactics for Final Boss to get back into the game.
I mean, we're to the point now where the Yumi Ezreal is definitely online. Oh, maybe.
There's a really nice exhaust on Steve Fox and the arcade shift forward. Now Keen has to be careful as YC is just pushing down with Yumi on the back. True Shot Barrage going to come down, but it's going to miss Keen. Keen is going to survive, but they've now got pressure in the mid wave. They've got a 4-man unit on the side of Final Boss. Who can answer this? No one. There's got TP behind. This is going to be a big play coming out of Barlow. He can find the showstopper. If he can find the angle, he gets it, but it doesn't really matter. He gets blown up, but they find the kill onto Nightingale. Key now on the back end of it. The tree is sparked. Goes for the Nature's Grasp. Is in the mix of everything, but it doesn't really matter. Traded for the support as Keen goes down. Flash and exhaust already up. We already have it going forward as well. And Baboon is looking for the advance.
Rook, I'm going to need to get you a glass of water out of that after that one. What an extended trade there. It just felt like it would never end in that fight. I feel like the momentum changed 3 or 4 times in one fight. But one thing I think worth noting is Risen starts up the Baron is just how disgusting that Yumi Ezreal felt throughout that fight, what they were able to do with that combination. Is Risen going to get this? I mean, oh, this is... Treebro is there.
Teleport coming in, Treebo looking for something. Emperor's Divide is just to disengage as well. Gets the last little bit of tick of the lost chapter, but it's going to get over to Treebo as well. Baboon's going to fall, but Baron has now been secured. Nightingale TP back into it, just trying to secure the vision. 49 seconds on the Drake. That is, again, sole potential here for the side of Risen Esports as they're looking to get back onto the map. Secure vision is already primary vision over onto the side of Final Boss who's looking to match.
I like the fact that they, kind of YOLO'd the Baron there because there was the risk of grabbing the soul but losing the Baron. Obviously soul is more valuable in 90% of cases than the Baron. Cloud's a little questionable, however, it does play really well with a lot of the ults and the movement that Risen wants to have with like the Senna and everything, the poking and the inning and out. But it's still a good call from them. Ezreal missing the True Shot Barrage here. Risen positioning in the same spot as before. I'm not sure if we want to see this here.
Yeah, Scuttle going over onto the side of Risen Esports. The poke is coming in for YYC, but can't really find too much. Barlow's gone a little bit low as well. Saplings are just slowing things down, but they started up the Drake here for Final Boss. They're looking to hold the line here. Zark needs to step forward now on the Maokai. The root comes down for Keen. Treebro's gone forward. He's been stunned up. He's get blown up by the Cyclone. Barlow finds one. Can they find another? Showstopper into the backline as well. This is a big engagement for Barlow. Flashes back to his team. He's got the healing coming down. Zark, the tree is going to live. Drake, the soul, goes over to Risen Esports. Now they're re-engaging into the fight. YYC goes. The Emperor's Divide back, and it's a double kill going over to Steve Fox as they found the engagement that they wanted for. They found the opening. They have the Baron buff, and they can push down mid lane. They got mid waves in the top lane as well. They can push down aggressively. Risen Esports find the opening. They take it. They get the soul, and they potentially going to break the base here as well.
I feel like Risen, can they end? I think they can just end the game here, right?
Yeah, 28 minutes into the game, they have the window for it. They're tanking up the tower. They're saving the minions, but Barlow can tank it 4 days. They have a little bit of healing coming out of Keen as well. They're pushing down. They've got one. They're getting two. Treebro, what can you do, mate? You're up against unassailable odds right now, and the game is going to go over to Risen Esports. It's 1-1 apiece, and we're going to a game number 3 here at week 5 at the UCL.
Wow, just not what you expect to see there. They just came out and just cleaned that one up within seconds. I mean, it was less than a minute from when the Drake was slain until the game was over. Congratulations to Risen there, getting a game 3 for 2 weeks in a row now, as we will see them facing Final Boss here in just a few moments.
Yeah, we'll be right back, guys, for game number 3 here following Risen Esports against Final Boss. Week 5 of the UCL League Upsurge. Really looking forward to seeing the result of this. Been a bit of a battle between that. Couple of losses there. Steve Fox managing to secure his connection, securing the win over off the back of Barlow's epic engage, the showstopper into the backline, and the clean up, the flash forward. The engagement was there for Risen Esports, and we will be right back with game number 3. Hello and welcome back to game number 3, last one of the night for the UCL Week 5 between Risen Esports and Final Boss. My name is Riptor, and casting with me this evening is Tame.
Welcome back, everybody. We're getting right into the draft. There's Final Boss is a very defined strategy of things that they don't like to see. So far, they really don't want to see Jim Cantor's Ivern. They really don't like seeing the Leo, and we'll have to see what they get rid of here. Risen, however, just targeting out some some key junglers as final boss's jungler does seem to favor those rage junglers. Don't blame them for taking out the the Varus and the Wukong taking out here. So basically, everything that Treebro we've seen him on is now being taken out.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, Risen Esports actually have some bans to their roster right now. Only Kindred was the one-off ban. That's because Steve Fox is a bit of an emergency East sub coming in at the AD position. So Graves and Wukong off the table means that we will have a very different draft. Aphelios, however, first picked over onto the side, but Set we said was a contentious pick at the start, at game number one, and we've seen him all three games. He is a very strong pick right now, and has a lot of presence and a lot of agency, as we saw Barlow play that in the last game.
Yeah, I mean, said at this point, it feels like he's balanced, but he's so high priority. Like he's in just about every game. When you see pro play, he's almost always picked or banned. I like to see the misfortune if they do lock this in here, as it seems like Risen is focused on those the big team fights so far, and MF having one of the biggest and best R buttons in the entire game.
Yeah, definitely. Bullet time has a lot of pressure that you can set up. Need that lockdown, however, and Nautilus has a lot of lockdown onto the other side. Going to be able to keep Aphelios fairly safe. Also, an aggressive lane. You can really play a lot around that as well. Going to have to see potentially want that lockdown set up with Misfortune as well. Could potentially play Morgana. You could get a buy, and then you could get that Black Shield, or you could look to trade for that more aggressive kind of like Alistair or Thresh combo as well, as Leona's already been taken off the table.
This the Zach, is that gonna stick? Zach and stick. Yeah, I'm very not funny.
It's
Okay,
getting spicy, Tame. It's getting spicy. We got the jump around, the goo in the jungle right now. We got a Nautilus with that engage with that dredge line, trying to knock up the enemies from range as well. And Azir coming back here for Baboon. We saw a couple of Emperor's Divide do really well, a couple that went a little bit awry, but definitely he did get the farm. He did get to that point, and saw him have a bit more impact than Nightingale in both game one and two.
yeah, and I mean with Azir, honestly, you'll see people that are good at Azir but not good at like the Shrima shuffle. He was very good at drifting. I noticed at least 3 good drifts in the last game. So even if you do miss that wall, you're still one of the highest DPS mages in the game. So he was contributing quite well. You can't, if you win, the mistakes all get forgotten, right? Everything is erased. All is forgiven as long as you win. Now, if you pull something like Jensen's Echo and you lose, then it goes down in history.
Yeah, we didn't actually mention how many stacks Keen Senna got up to, but he really was on quite a tear through that. Maokai getting picked this time for Risen Esports. That'll get played into the top lane, probably for Bolo as well, although it can be a jungle. So potentially Set coming into the jungle, bit of a different path for him. Definitely can look to play a little bit more creative with those ganks and showstoppers from the rear means that you can lock the target back into your teammate and has a lot of agency in the side lanes for that.
I love to see the Ornn out of Final Boss. Actually, I was kind of wondering where Ornn was in this series because his ult is so game changing and he plays very well into Maokai. I mean, even if Maokai roots him and stuff, he can still throw out his little Q pillar and do
Right.
some damage. Ooh, ooh,
I was gonna say Oriana team, but Kassadin also works a treat if you can really try and work around it. Obviously, Emperor's Divide can knock you back, and you do not want to get caught in that bullet time. So, gonna have to find his moments on the Kassadin. But you have the delay time with this Ornn, with the Zac and Nautilus, this three-man front tank line here that will get shredded by Misfortune and Azir, but potentially going to provide the window for Caston, for Nightingale to really find the windows into these fights.
they're wrapping up the draft already. The Trundle coming out for Risen, which means again we're gonna have at least one flex pick. Are we gonna see a set support here, Rook?
It is actually a thing you can go Hex Flash, and it's very dirty, sort of from the bushes, particularly the fact that Aphelios doesn't have that uh, reposition move does mean that he is very susceptible to something like that. Means that it's all about that vision control in the bushes. If Set can get priority in that and Nautilus can't quite find the window, if Clancy can't quite find that vision in the bushes, that means that King could have a field day.
Absolutely. I just when I saw the Trundle locked in, I'm like, okay, Trundle jungle set top. I'm like, wait, what? So far, every game that we've cast of Risen, it seems to be that one of their definite strengths is their adaptability and flexibility, as they've shown that they're willing to put just about anything pretty much anywhere at this stage in the game. The one thing I'd like to criticize, and I think is a fair criticism of Final Boss, is of their draft here is I'm not sure the Cassidon even makes it to level 16 in this game, right? Like for Cassidon to be good, you think of more of like a lately he hasn't been picked at all really in pro play or banned because you're thinking more of him as a solo queue stomper because people don't end the games in 20 22 minutes in solo queue. The last game ended in 28 minutes ish. So you're looking at that point right where Cassidon would come online, like right when Cassidon's just becoming not just a champion, but actually like a stomper. So we're going to have to see if they can hold out long enough to actually make their Cassidon relevant. They do have the tanks to sort of hold off. They do have the good wave clear coming out with the Aphelios. So it's not like they can't hold the game. But the question can be, will they?
So an interesting thing here is the fact that we said potentially set support, but it's looking like that Maokai support, which means that they took out the Maokai before they locked in that Ornn. So they kind of wanted to take the Maokai away as a takeaway, potentially forcing them onto the Ornn pick. And you can play that with saplings in the bushes. You kind of get that percent health and can trade that with aftershock, particularly into a Nautilus. You can kind of trade frontline for frontline and really allow the AD carries to try and trade their potential into them.
Yeah, I think front to back, I believe Risen takes the fights front to back as long as they play it well. But I do think that with all those tanks, it allows for more mistakes out of Final Boss Esports here. So I think if I had to give it to a team here, I would probably give it to Risen, just based on what we've seen so far and the fact that we have Jim on one of his signature picks on the Trundle. So I'd like to be surprised, however, as we do go into game 3 here. Anything you'd like to add, Rook, before we get into a little bit of a delay?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great to have that three-man strong front line. There's going to be a lot of disruption, so YYC could also run away with the game, potentially just be a solo carry for his team if they can play it right. If he can play around the fact that bullet time is off cooldown or interrupted, Treebro can really do well with interrupting that as well on the Zac. And Clancy can find ways to interrupt that too. Obviously, all can. So many ways to actually interrupt this bullet time. It's all going to be about those CDs. And if that is off cooldown, if or YYC is safe, then you can really look to play quite aggressively on this Affiliates, look to take over the game.
Yeah, I mean, he has shown a potential to pop off so far, YYC, but we've seen him thus far on the Ezreal, which is sort of like the reliant on getting to the late game. And the last game ended right as he was at that complete pop off point. So we'll have to see this game if he can make it. This is his last chance.
So we are just gonna take a short break right now, guys. Thank you so much for choosing in here at Risen Esports for the UCL Week 5 between Risen Esports and Final Boss. Game 3, one apiece right now going into it. We'll be right back after a short delay. Hello and welcome back to our last segment here tonight for the UCL Week 5 between Arisen Esports and Final Bosses. We do instantly go into a pause here. We'll be right back, unfortunately, for that. My name is Victor, doing the play-by-play and color casting tonight is Tame. How are you doing? Looking forward to game number 3.
Be doing a lot better if we weren't paused. If we weren't paused 15 seconds, Rook, into this game. However, it does sound like we're going to be waiting for a little bit. The jungler
Sometimes
DC.
nature calls.
Oh, we're already getting on pause. All right. So we are going to get back onto the rift. No more delays. Although I have to admit, you get that little that cringe where you're like, oh no, it's happening again. And then it doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. So fleeted footwork here, corrupting potion. There's going to be a lot of sustain in the mid lane here. A little bit of an invade coming out of Jim Cantori. They will try and get the ward. They don't get the ward. No,
They don't get the ward. I do feel like with Kassadin, you basically have to take fleet footwork into that match, or you're just going to get poked out. Kassadin has very few lane winning matches. And in the ones where he does win lane, which is like 7 or 8 in the entire game, you can kind of get away with like taking Comet or something like that. In ones like this, however, if you take that, you're just going to be poked out and backing and backing and backing.
Yeah, exactly. You just find the windows, try and base on a cannon wave is walking towards you, try and have that moment to be able to recall back onto the map. Obviously carrying that teleport match for Baboon as well. Clancy taking a little bit of poke as we already have the saplings coming down. YYC playing quite aggressive here as they're already starting up on the blue buff for the top side here over onto the side of Final Boss as well. Final Boss on the blue side on the red Risen Esports. A game apiece as well. Maybe looking for something in the bush, but they're not going to find it. Steve Fox and Keen have gone the right way into the lane.
Yeah, as you can see them over there emoting a little bit. They can't see, but I suspect that they expect in that situation as Risen does move into lane with trying a little bit of a cheeky play there, but not getting away.
Is that a they know, we know, they know moment?
Yeah, exactly. I love how you worded that. They know, we know, they know. Yes, exactly.
Oh, Jim Cantori, yet again, this man always loves to invade. He actually gets the camp, however, and Treebo is very low right now, just having to walk away. Jim Cantori waiting to see what he can find. He's going to invade yet again. Zach is very low right now. Treebo healing up with those refillables, but he's already used them all. And again, camps are going away. He's got his entire bottom lane free as well that he'll have to move down to. But all he has got currently is 4CS.
I mean, and Jim knows, like, what's a Kassadin going to do? Walk over and throw a Q at you and then run away or die? He doesn't have a lot of choices right now, and even to get away, he has to deal with Baboom's pressure and priority here. So the decision to invade in this isn't just a Jim style play. I feel like it's the right play as we have a trade in the
Yeah, actually the cannon wave heavily battering down onto Zark as well. So nice little bit of a reset here coming out of Barlow. He'll be able to reset the wave as well. Come back with a little bit of a buy. Gets a cull yet again. Thinks it's another free lane for him. Barlow with the cull. Just looking to scale up thick and fast as well. Skull going over onto the side of Jim Cantori. He's already invaded, already got that lead over onto the side of Treebo. And he can potentially go back to his blue buff. He can go top to Skull. He has options over onto the side of the Trundle in the jungle.
Yeah, I mean, Barlow doing his absolute best Nasus cosplay over these last 2 games with the big call pickups here. I think, again, it's a good buy. I think as long as he can stay away from the Ornn, that he'll be fine. And, Set has the tools and the threat to stay away from him. So take a look at the bot lane here. It's pretty much what you expect. Aphelios with a couple CS lead, but, the wave is crashing here for Steve Fox. He should be able to pick up most of them under the tower. Yeah. Mid lane also, yeah, you can see Nightingale here just getting absolutely not destroyed. He's only down a couple CS, but it's one of those lanes where you have no prio, you have no pressure. So even if you're keeping even in CS, you're not really feeling good about it.
Yeah, Treebo down to the bottom lane, but he's only level 3. It's a very delayed blue buff take over onto the side of Jim Cantori, but potentially Red line going to go wide. The knock-up is there for Treebo, though. They're looking for Keen. They're looking for it. They've got the passive down already of Trebro, but that's going to be able to get mitigated as YYC is just defending his ground, trying to look for something. Here comes Jim Cantori into the bottom lane as well, but it doesn't matter. Passive has been brought. The re-engagement coming out, and there should be a kill as Steve Fox goes down. Really nice re-engage coming out of Clancy.
Your positioning is so questionable there. You're going back in. You don't know where he's standing in that bush. You don't have the vision. You can't make those kind of mistakes at this level of play, as First Blood does go over to Final Boss Esports.
Yeah, they'll be able to rotate down, but this is a good window for Final Boss. They've got a lot of XP advantage as that all got broken down. Steve Fox is going to come back to lane level 4, level 3, sorry, level 4 already on the side of YYC. And the push can continue down onto the bottom side.
Yeah, they will continue. There's no reason not to at this point, right? I mean, it's pretty much everything's coming up good for them, as we do see Barlow just smacking away in the top lane here. Good timing there on his shield there to counter the Ornn. And Ornn does have the issue of actually having mana, although his costs are very low. You can still see that his mana bar is emptying out, so Barlow's basically going to have free farm until Zark bases.
Yeah, really nice first by BF Sword secured for YYC. Kind of a shame that Jim Cantori was out on the map for such a long time, rushing that Tiamat, so he's just going to be a farming machine, going to be looking to go over to that top skull, already secured the first 2. They've got presence in the top lane, and when we have that reset coming out of Baboon, they'll have presence in the mid, trying to get matched here for Nightingale as well, who's trying to find a cheeky base, stacking up that tier now on the side of the casted.
Worth noting is that despite Jim being really dominant on the early Drakes, Final Boss actually has a control ward in there this time, so he's not going to be able to just take it, as we see a big trade coming out in the top lane. Barlow is just basically having his way with that lane right now, and it just becomes continually more difficult for Zark, as he does have to base here. I believe that should allow him to grab a plate, unless no, Zark's TPing very quickly back. So,
yeah, but using that teleport means that you've got the disparity, right? So now you can play, you've got this invade coming out for this second blue buff over onto the top side. And once they've got that, once they can get that jungler Jim Cantori down into the bottom side, they can potentially look to clear out that pink to make a play around this bottom side of the map for that first Infernal Dragon.
It looks like, if I'm not wrong here, I believe they're going to try to collapse on the Ornn right here and counter the First Blood with their own blood on their hands. Here they
Subjugate going to be used to just reduce the resistances. Zark going to flash away from it though, and he's got out. That was a really nice flash. Didn't even need to use Call of Forge God, so he can save that. And this is wasting time. This is a lot invested for Jim Cantori up into the top lane. He's only really taken 1 buff in the last minute.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like, to me, it looked like Ornn was going to try to flash over the little chunk of rock that makes up the new alcove. He was like trending that way. And then he just like flicked backward and flashed. He's like, later, losers, I'm out of here. And it actually worked. He baited them out very well, taking advantage of that bush vision and everything there that he could. And good job getting out there. It's not something you see too often.
Yeah, so first Dragon going to go over to Final Boss. That mishap in the top lane, that rewarded gank means that the Dragon will fall. Really nice hook into the bottom lane. That could be the go signal. Steve Fox has to flash away. Already saved that. The Chakram's coming out for YCC as well.
Yeah, threading the needle and landing that hook there. I expected a kill to come out, as we do see follow the Forge God.
Forge God an ignite down already with that spell, but 1 kill looking for Barlow as well. Has to flash away defensively. Nightingale on the chase, trying to pursue potentially under the tower. Not going to look to find it, but the Rift Herald has now been reset. They're looking for the re-engagement, but a little bit of a cheeky back coming out of Baboon means that he should be able to secure it. Trebro only level 5 currently to the level 8 solo laners. He's falling very far behind in experience on this Zac as they're looking to take the second objective.
You know, blink and you'll miss it. Oh,
Barlow's TP down to the bottom lane. That means YYC is under the firing line, but he's already got a kill. Can he find a second before he falls? No. Now they're looking for the collapse onto Clancy. Can Clancy find the hook to the tower? Now it's going to get interrupted by Barlow, and they'll be able to get that successful TP, but a kill going over to YYC means that it's probably relatively traded as well, and we do have the Rift Tower being Crop top?
In terms of the gold lead here, they're still up by a couple hundred, but we're basically dead even in this game. Both teams wanting to play their heart out, really wanting to take this series. Final Boss with the chance to get into a winning record, and Risen with the chance to maintain their undefeated record as they looks like they're going to grab first tower here.
Yeah, that Rift Tail's done work into that
Oh, not
top side of the map. We had a nice play there by Barlow, but giving that kill over to YYC means that Aphelios is still on the clock. Not a lot of farm over onto the side of Steve Fox. Generally, you know that Misfortune as a strong laner, but just hasn't found the cadence of the CS as well that he would like.
worth mentioning though, blink and you miss it, and look, Cassidy's already starting to scale. Has the blasting wand, the tier, the boots, the core of having the dark seal and the corrupting potion here, and they're up for CS, which isn't what you expect to see against a bully like Azir, but Azir's been playing more the sort of map style for Risen here. Nightingale's actually a legitimate threat. When he hits 11, he's really going to come online and start to just destroy Risen Esports, tear them limb from limb, so to speak. So we have to, give credit to him. He hasn't died yet.
It's the usual build on Kassadin, still going for that Rod of Ages into Zerath's Embrace into Lichbane. Is that the sort of like three
Yeah,
item
yeah.
build?
That's basically the core. The meta on Kassadin's been settled for a long time. And honestly, there's a lot of Kassadins who will actually just rush the Rod of Ages now, since Presence of Mind has been added to the game and allows him to just get that 500 mana. The tier can sometimes wait. It depends on your preference and your play style. And I'm not the most prolific Kassadin player. I only have about 20 games a season played on him. But I generally go Roa because I feel like he has enough mana now with the with Presence of Mind. Also depends on how confident you are that you're going to get the stacks for Presence of Mind, since you need your takedowns.
Yeah, and if you get a lead and you start getting kills and you start getting the resets for the mana back in fight, means that you can keep ulting around the map with that Rift Walk. But a little bit of a roam coming out of Baboon. He just cheats down to the bottom side, maybe looking for a little bit of a play. However, Treebo is already down in the area. We mentioned his XP deficiency is now matching the bottom laners, but level 10 already for Nightingale, as you said, looking for that level 11 mark. He's the highest level in the game currently on the Cassidy.
Yeah, and they're not pressuring him. I gotta ask Rook, like, when the pressure is gonna come in. If it's not now, when will it be? As it seems Baboon
up into top lane, Brittle there as well. The exhaust, Barlow, he's gonna go down. Zark finds it in a wonderful 1v1, potentially looking for the skank into the bottom lane as well. Treebo gonna definitely be face checking into this. He knows Baboon already has to flash away as he's been knocked up by the depth charge. Now the engagement becomes a bullet time. Is uninterrupted. It's doing massive amount of damage as Baboon's found one onto YYC. Now they're looking for more. Clancy is on the front line. Jim Cantori trying to find more. Keen lives as well. And that is disaster as Risen Esports find it into final boss.
Disaster has, as you said there, misfortune, making them feel rather unfortunate in that bot lane, allowed to just channel the full duration R, as it looks like Risen will pick up the second Drake here to even it at 1-1.
That's the kind of fight where you want to have that LCS style organization and see the damage charts in the fight, because that bullet time did a lot there for Steve Fox.
Oh yeah, the fight felt like it was lost there for Risen, and then just straightforward R. And you, even with the mobility creep in the game, the reach and the breadth of that ultimate is so large and just so devastating that I think that Misfortune is one of those champions that no matter how old she becomes, or if her kit becomes dated or boring or anything like that, she's always going to be a relevant champion just based off of the R button. They are going to give the blue over to Kassadin here, as Nightingale has become quite scary. I think that's the story we need to really be looking at in this game, as he now has 123 CS, which basically means he's been free farming. You know, Kassadin, you usually want to be reaching like 140-ish, 150-ish in around 20 minutes to be able to be where you need to be. But he's already, going to reach that at about 15 minutes rather than 20, which is really good. He's got to be feeling great right now.
Yeah, I think you're right, Tim. And also, you said an interesting comment about having a champion for your boring. I feel like Misfortune doesn't really have that, as like some champions have little like mini games and kind of like stacking potential, like that Sana trying to get around with the stacks. But Misfortune kind of has this double up mechanic, And it's very satisfying when you can land that in lane and you're always cognizant of where that minion is, if it's low enough to be able to get the killing blow and really get a big heavy chunk of damage into that. And it is a really satisfying playstyle if you can actually land a few successfully in lane. We haven't seen too many, but you're always looking for those angles, looking for that window, and it makes the opponent think about it as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll definitely hard agree. One of the best feelings I think in the game I've ever had was landing a critical double up plus a Vel'Koz Q, and just like 90% chunking the enemy ADC when I used to play some Vel'Koz support. It was misfortune. Vel'Koz is an absolutely degenerate thing that I feel like should not exist.
Yeah, depth charge coming out as well. Big engagement down to the bottom lane, but here comes the teleport for Risen Esports Nation. Grabs to stall out the fight. It's a big shutdown going over as well. The double kill coming out, maybe more as well. YYC is going to go down to Barlow, looking for more as they're now tower diving into the action. Call the Forge God, but it's going to be late. The team has already fallen here. Risen Esports looking for more. Steve Fox takes a tower shot. Maybe can't quite find Zark, but they've already taken down 4 members.
Wow, I mean, Risen just on the back foot there, just explosively turning the game around, even with the solo kill in the mid lane as they just come down and start to destroy the bot lane as well. Can Zark defend here is the story. He's at least wave clearing, backing Risen off the tower, keeping himself relatively healthy. But look at Baboom just starting to tear that tower up as he is going to get it, even up the tower score here at 1-1 with now a 200 gold bounty. Suddenly it looked like we were just, casting. And now Azir is even in gold, 2 kills, has a fat bounty on his head.
Yeah, playing nicely as well. Couple of minutes left onto the 3rd dragon, so they'll slowly be resetting up to that. Rift Herald available as well, so that's going to be the next objective. Jim Cantori already starting that one up uncontested. We do have the roam and the reset coming out. Steve Fox now roaming and cheating up to that side. We have Nightingale in the mid lane pushing ever stronger on this Castin. 155 farm, very, very strong in this middle lane. Really scaled up, as you said, level 11 is the mark, but level 12 he has now hit. And he is pushing aggressively into this middle lane. But what can he find against the wave clear? Barlow potentially now in a 2v1. Has to play the Rune King, looking for the slow, but it doesn't matter. He's been re-engaged. Going to find the root as well. He's now on the tower. It doesn't really matter. Can't quite find the rest of the damage to respond to it.
Yeah, until Philios has about 2 items, he doesn't feel like he can really burst somebody down in that situation. Unless, he's got like stacked chakra or lands like a sniper's mark or something, a Calibra mark, but they're going for it here.
Yeah, they're diving the showstopper in down into that. Barlow is looking for it, but he can't quite find anything more. Here comes the support. Keen, ignite down, will collect Cansey, has to flash away from the engagement coming out. Moonlight Vigil doesn't quite find it onto Keen, but the towers are trading, but it's the Rift Herald up into the top lane. All the Forge God there doesn't quite get the charge down. Bullet time as well, as Zark just has to run away under his tower.
It's like in this situation that Zark is just being sort of abandoned by his team. That's the 2nd time in 2 minutes that Zark has been left to the wolves of Risen Esports.
He's not dying though, Tame. He's doing a really good job just wave clearing in the weak side, just allowing the strong side of this Aphelios, of this Clancy Engage and Treebro just diving into the back line. Really accelerate the game here for Final Boss. Now Dragons spawned up on the map. We do already have Baboom in the area trying to corral Risen Esports to come and join him. They've started it up now. They've pulled it out of range of Treebo. No contest going to come in, and 3rd Drake will go over onto the side of Risen.
Nice clean pickup there, knowing what they needed to do, knowing what they needed to grab. Good position, good macro sense there. And worth noting too is that yes, Zark hasn't died, but it is hard to kill the mage, tank, assassin, bruiser, ADC Ornn at all times.
Yeah, exactly. I think the meme has a few more names than that. I don't know if you can remember them all, but
The full meme is like 24 names, man. Come on, give me some credit.
You started it, Dave. You started, Dave. I wanted more. The fans wanted more. The chat wanted more.
We've been at this for a good while tonight. I think if I lived a little closer to you, Rook, I would definitely owe you a coffee or maybe even a beer at this point.
Right. Coffee would be good, mate. But that's fine. We're back onto the Rift here for game number 3 between Risen Esports and Final boss. They really are going quite aggressive here. Barlow looking for the bot lane, but he's got the support of Keen in the wings as well. Three-man stack coming out. They're looking to put numbers down to this bottom lane for final boss. They're trading it to the top side, but the wave isn't there currently for Risen Esports. They're very far back onto it. They're going to have to travel a long wave. Really nice disengage there with the Arcane Smash to just disengage. Trebo looking for any more advance as the slingshot goes wide. Oh, wonderful hook, however, in the mid. Clancy goes in. Emperor's Divide back into two. They might be a little bit too deep now. Nightingale has to bail. Clancy flashes the wall, but a really nice pillar. That'll get awarded over to Steve Fox, and that was a fantastic Emperor's Divide to equalize that fight.
Amazing, and heads up played there out of Baboom, instantly knowing what to do, having the micro sense to put that in the exact right position, not saving his life, but saving his team and looking really good doing it.
Yeah, gets caught with a hook, look dead to rights, but trades it back onto Clancy as well. Gets double flashes out as well. Trades his own, but two flashes as well means that Clancy's sort of engagement will be a little bit weaker.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like right now, after that play, they sort of committed a lot, and I feel like Risen's in sort of a commanding position at this point. Got to expect him to look for the Baron here as we start looking at Vision. Risen's Vision is mostly defensive. If we look and we do see a good river line. Oh,
lots of full guys going up in the top lane. We can see how tanky Ornn is though. Barlow can't really trade it. He does need his help. Now he has to disengage it. Flash forward there for Zark as he looks for it. The soldiers are there. Baboon finally secures it down, but you can see how much threat Zark is in this side lane now.
He was able to finally take him down there. I mean, it was a little bit of an overcommit. I feel like a lot of mistakes in this series have been by Zark being just a little bit over eager. He obviously has really good micro skills and a good sense for the game, but I do feel like there's been a few instances where he's just sort of like a little bit too eager to commit, or just like wanting to pour his heart into situations that don't need his heart more than they need his brain.
Yeah, this is a slow game, Tainers. Now we're 22 minutes in. Gold is pretty much even, only 1,000 gold into it. Dragons are relatively close. We're having another one mountain coming up in about 90 seconds. But Vision needs to now be maintained up around the Baron as well. So that's splitting the Vision all the way across the river. We have waves pushing quite aggressively here onto the side of final boss. So that's just a little bit telling for the state of the game as played. Nightingale has teleport, so he's going to be matching Azir going up into the top side and pushing relentlessly into this top side means that the wave state is there for final boss.
Speaking of state of the game, we do now see at just 22 minutes a 210 farm, 1 kill, 2 item Kassadin, who is going to be approaching critical mass at level 14 already at this point in the game.
So very finds a knockout. Dredge line 2, they're looking for Barlow, but Showstopper into the back line means that now Zark needs to be careful. The Sand Soldiers are down, the damage is there. Baboon kills him for a second time very quickly. That means Dragon Control is going to be going over to Risen Esports. Potential split push coming out as towers falling here over onto the side of final boss. Kassadin now just has to commit to this split push, potentially give up onto this Drake as well. Nightingale pushing relentlessly up into this top side. Going to be trading it for the Dragon coming up in 25 seconds. But that is a long duration. Someone can match him now. It's going to be Barlow, but the tower's already fallen. That's gold into the pocket. As you said, double items already for Nightingale. Now they can push a wraparound, but it's very hard to chase Kassadin around the map.
And it looks like Risen will be able, I assume, able to secure this Drake here. I don't think that it would be wise for them to contest unless he does a drive-by smite steal, but it just looks like that Zark has not...
They're TPing in, they're wanting the fight. Here we go. Trebro is into the back end of it and absolutely obliterates Steve Fox at the top of the fight, but Jim Cantori's fine Nightingale at the back end of it. Keen's going to get slowed down as well. The TP coming in, really nice disengage. Keen is just trying to play with the life. Barlow enters the fray. That's onto Trebro, but he's got his passive, which will proc. Zark now looking for the back line, but it's YYC gets chucked down for JCC. Baboon, where is he? Where is he? He is just zoning out the tanks in the back end of it, allowing the damage to come through. Trebo is going to go down as well, and it's Dragon Control back over to Risen Esports.
It's exactly as I thought. I thought it would just be a little bit foolhardy for them. I didn't expect, I'm not going to lie, I did not expect Steve Fox to go down that quickly in that fight. However, the positioning was still there for Risen, and Baboom had such crisp crisp positioning in that fight, just able to completely zone out the two members of Final Boss Esports there.
Yeah, teleport down from Nightingale, but that means that won't be up for a little bit of Baron shenanigans for the next few
What I'm
minutes.
wondering there, was he just like is he just like obsessing with the level 16 and the scaling like as a win con? Because in terms of macro decisions, that was a horrible teleport. I think he has to be just prioritizing because he's already back in the mid lane there. I think he's just like, hey, I need all the farm I can get. I need to scale. We need to get there. That's how we win. And that's honestly not a bad decision out of him because, you know, Zark's last couple engages have been coming up a little bit short. He's died now twice in a row. Their jungler's 0-3, so right now Kassadin's kind of their bright spot in the game here if they can get him to 16.
Yeah, currently YYC is fairly close to their third item as well. Already got that Molten Edge upgrade as well. Gargoyle Stoneplate finish for Clancy. That means that their engagement's going to be pretty big. We also have that Knight's Vow, as you said, 0-3, so it's not really Treebo's time to shine, but it's safety for YYC as that's the damage dealer in the team unless Kassadin Nightingale can find the window. But currently Jim Cantori also found that fight. You said that Steve Fox went down very quickly, but so did Nightingale.
Yeah, you are right there, definitely. I mean, Kassadin is very slippery, but if you can get him locked down, he's one of the squishiest champions in the game, which sort of fulfills that true glass cannon power fantasy that he does have that niche. Risen will start up the Baron here. I think they can get this fairly cleanly. Is it? Oh, they're disengaged.
They're turning for the fight, but who can they find? They look for Nightingale, but he disengages. Moonlight Vigil down for maximum damage. Bullet time as well, but doesn't really find too much in the back end of it. Here we go. Barlow in the front line getting shredded. Clancy very, very low. Double kill going over to Barlow. Now they'll turn back to Baron as well. They've kind of won the fight, and unless Zark can do something amazing, we have such a low ticking health bar for YYC. Means that he can't really rejoin the fight. Nightingale's going to have to go for the hero play. Looking for Keen. He's committed to Keen, and he's got into the damage of Baboon. Now he's picked up the double, looking for a triple. Zark's just cutting back. The Baron's already fallen for Risen Esports. Zark's just on the chase, on the hunt here. Baboon's chasing. He's got the red buff. He's got the slows down onto Zark. This is the long con. This is the long chase as the flash over the wall. Means that he should be able to survive. We've got minions down in the mid as well. That means Risen Esports have the advantage here. They've got a cannon minion too, so they can keep pushing. They can keep opening up the base here if they want to. Steve Fox can just free throw onto this. They don't really have an answer over onto the side of Final Bosses. Risen Esports just pushing into the base aggressively. They found the window. 49k gold right now, 7 kills to 19, and they are just plowing through. They've taken the middle inhibitor, they've taken the Baron, and they've taken the fight.
Not even the power of the tank, mage, support, bruiser, assassin, fighter, DPS, burst, Ornn could stop Zark from losing that fight, as Risen will take the Baron and about half the base of Final Boss Esports here in UCL Week 5.
Woo! Yeah. That was good stuff, Dane. That was good. A little bit of Baron shenanigans. We saw a bullet time go wide, but they still win the fight. Have a little bit of a re-engage coming out. Nightingale committing to the support. We need to find that backline access. Try and blow up either Steve Fox or Baboon. Use the fact that you do have this strong scaling Kassadin. Level 15 now. As you said, the game could be over before Kassadin hits level 16. And they've lost Inhibitor before Kassadin's hit level 16. So you might be right.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like everything was coming up so well for him. Like he was.
Oh, Zark's been caught. Emperor's Divide as well. He's just been knocked back into the team. He's gone golden, but it's only buying time for his demise. Baboon's going to be able to secure that. Now he's 7-1-5. A massive scoreline coming out for him. 3-1-10 also on Jim Cantori as they're looking to secure onto the second rate. But they really want to try and push these lanes out as we do have that for Steve Fox. The re-engagement coming out of Barlow, looking for Treebro now. Looking aggressively, looked for Nightingale. Couldn't quite find the showstopper. The disengagement, the flash away for Treebro. Here comes a showstopper back in, but now he's tanking the tower. He gets a massive shield coming out. Now he's disengaging. Treebo ignited as well onto the back end of it. What's happening there? We do have a death. Steve Fox finally gone down. Nightingale's finally fallen. Nightingale now looking for a little bit of a re-engage, but who is his target? He's only really left with tanks and Baboon on the front line. He can't really take down anyone. Keen now is on the front line, firing down onto all cylinders, just to disengage, but here comes Baboon, another Emperor's Divide just to keep them in. Nightingale has to abandon his support. Clancy's definitely gonna go down here to Baboon yet again. Godlike on this Azir. and Risen Esports Root final boss.
Wow, just just the slow clap right there. Absolutely gorgeous out of
Oh, there
Risen the
could
way
be
that they
another
played
fight
their
here.
play. Oh, Sark, not again.
It's a tag fight here coming down. 4v1 yet again. Baboon is just free firing. He's got so much damage with these soldiers. Nightingale's teleported back in, but he can't commit. He needs to kill Baboon. He needs to find the access, and he's only going backwards with these Riftwalks. He can't get into this melee of people coming down for Risen Esports. The Dragon's going down as well. This will be Soul if Risen Esports can secure this. Nightingale's on the flank looking for the window. Keen is quite low as well. Maybe he can look for something. Stolen by Jim Cantori, pushing forward now. YYC is just going to fall in an instant to Steve Fox. The passive has come down here for Trebo as well. He will fall yet again to Baboon, who is legendary. Nightingale is just ringing around the rosy, but he just can't get anything done on this Cassidin. He has 3 items, but they're into the best. Emperor's Divide goes down. Clancy will fall for a double kill. They are into the base, and they will win 2v1. Risen Esports find the victory here in week number 5. They will go 5-0 in the UCL, and they will win the day.
The ability to face adversity, loss of bans, loss of players, going down 0-1 after losing a 4v5, coming back with the 2-0 redemption story here. Congratulations to Risen for going 5-0 in such a competitive league here. Wow. I mean, what an explosive scaling there from Risen. At one point, they were only up 3 kills, and then they made it 18 within about 10 minutes, really taking it to them in the end of that series.
I mean, Zark only died 4 times, but it definitely looked like he was just kind of getting picked a little bit too much, getting thrown in. Really nice Emperor's Divides that game, really isolating targets. Nightingale couldn't find access to the back line. YYC was caught unawares, kind of got blown up a little bit as well as Steve Fox did. But at the end of the day, it was that tank line, it was that creativity out of Barlow and Jim Cantori winning out the day. Massive damage coming down for Baboon as well as he managed to do. Looking at the damage starts 28k to 14 coming out of the misfortune there over onto the side of Steve Fox, the substitute here for Risen Esports. Thank you so much for tuning into the cast here tonight for the week 5 of UCL. We'll be back for week 6 next week for Thursday starting at 8 EST. Thank you so much for tuning in and have a good night from Riptor and Tame.
Later, guys.